Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, the Saiyan Fanfics, back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Became Ruthless Villain. Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. I remember darkness, the kind that fills your eyes, mind and senses, the kind that makes you forget what the sun ever looked like. I'd run my hands along the dirtied stone wall, tracing every chip and line in the rock that I'd already memorized 1,000 times over. It was a small room, small enough that even at 10 years old I was already too tall to lie down completely. They didn't remember me. They stopped feeding me a few months ago, so to pass the time I did what I always did. Whack. It was hard to do, but after a few attempts I could feel my skin break on the stone wall. Warm blood would start to seep out, if only for a second. Within an instant I would see the soft green glow beneath the wound, and the searing sting of my skin sealing itself up again. This is why they kept me around, I think. But why? My quirk, they called it, said it was unique and powerful. I didn't believe them, I still don't. I had seen a man taller than buildings. One had flames that danced atop his head and even more amazing people since then. Like him, I remember being scared of him at first. It had started with rumblings, sounds of cracking rocks and gunshots, shouting, stronger rumblings, then nothing, at least for a moment. Above me, the sound of grating metal and a light that burned my eyes. The light was quickly blocked by the shadow of a large man. His details were hard to discern. Apart from the 2 gold locks of hair that jutted up like horns from his head, anyone my age would have been thrilled to be saved by All Might. But I just remember the fear of looking above me and hearing his booming voice that seemed to shake the walls around me. After a few moments of my eyes adjusting to the light, I saw his face. The bright, beaming smile seemed to generate more light than the flickering bulb above him. It put me oddly at ease, and even now I'm not entirely sure why. But when he reached his arm down to pull me out, I did not hesitate. That's the day All Might changed my life. I never got to properly thank him. 5 years have passed, and today's the day of my captor's trial. I was hoping All Might would make an appearance so I could speak to him, but it seems he has more important things to attend to. To be honest though, I was also hoping he would be here to make me feel safer. From where I'm sitting I can see every minor detail of his face. The dark brown hair, the turquoise eyes, all the features I got from him. We will now hear from the defendant's longest-held victim. And son. There's a quiet gasp from the stands. I don't blame them. It was a surprise to me as well. Ryoto Midoriya, please come to the stand. I slowly stand up, trying to appear calm. As soon as my name was mentioned I could feel my father's eyes on me. I don't like the effect they have on me, making it hard to walk down the small, carpeted steps and up to the raised platform in the center of the room. As soon as I do, I feel my heart constrict. The entire room is silent, and 100 pairs of eyes look down on me, the son of a villain. One of the many things I've been called in the years since I was freed, and what I imagine is running through the heads of everyone in this room. It never mattered that I was a victim of his. It didn't matter that my life was ruined because I was his son. To them I'm no different. But I shouldn't blame them for it. I've done no good to prove otherwise. Ryoto, please recount the misdeeds done to you by the villain Toxic Samurai. Act. A Hikaru Midoriya. I take a moment, steadying my breathing before I speak. I'm sorry to say that I don't remember much before I was rescued. There were tests, and I was trained in some basic fighting skills, or rather, used as a training dummy for others. The prosecutor looks almost disappointed. I never saw Hikaru in person, or if I did then I don't remember. My apologies, Your Honor. The judge, an older woman with short, silver hair, looks down on me. Her eyes seem to glow a dark blue for a second, before she nods. I take it as my cue to leave. The witness's memory is cloudy. The judge confirms as I hastily take my seat. But regardless, the other testimonies and physical evidence recently turned up heavily incriminate Mr. Midoriya. The jury shall now deliberate. Fear is not really something I feel. Being able to recover from any injury tends to make you numb to any potential danger. But as the jury left, and my father looked to me with a smile on his face, well, it's the closest I've felt in a long time. I remember sunlight. The kind that stings your eyes and burns your skin. The kind that shines a light on the dirt on the streets and hate in people's eyes. I'd trudge home in my dark uniform, my skin sweating under the long sleeves and thick cloth. My eyes would be lowered to the ground, avoiding the world around me, hoping desperately that the people around would ignore me. Ignore the bruises on my skin and the scorch marks on my clothes. That's mean, Kaken. I hated it, being so exposed, like everyone was judging me. No sympathies for my tears or my wounds, or my weakness. You're below the rejects. You're quirkless. All men are not created equal. This was the reality I learned at the young age of 4, and every day since then. Believe you'll be born with a quirk in your next life, then dive off the roof. That day in particular, the sun seemed to burn even stronger, my body feeling more sluggish every second. Maybe it was the exhaustion, or the utter hopelessness I felt in that moment. But when I felt my lungs being crushed and my vision darkening, I barely fought back. All I could manage was a faint scream and a stream of tears. "I'm sorry, Izuku. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, Mom, I'm sorry. Sorry you had to be burdened with me. Maybe, in my next life, I could be a hero." That thought, Izuku's dying thought, is the clearest memory I have. Of course All Might would be the one to save me. Of course on my darkest day the one person I had ever idolized would be right there in front of me. It was like a fairy tale, like fate. And so I asked him the question that had been burning in my mind since I was 4 years old. The question everyone else had scoffed at and denied. All Might would prove them wrong. Even if I don't have a quirk, can I become a hero? That meeting with All Might, I could not have imagined how it would change my fate. I can barely sit still. The jury has returned with their verdict. It's almost cruel to leave the safety and peace of this man's victims to the decisions of 12 people with no stake in it. But this is our system, I guess. I look at the people sitting next to me. Since my turn on the stand, more and more captives came up to give their story. Turns out I was one of the oldest. The girl sitting next to me, for instance, her name is Akari. Her quirk allows her to read people's thoughts and emotions. Over the course of the trial, she had taken to hugging everyone when she felt them getting too anxious. She was 4 when she was taken. As the jury came out, I could see her starting to shake and pulled her into a tight hug. They'll do the right thing. She doesn't speak. The man on the far side of the jury stands, tall, graying hair and a dark suit. He clears his throat before speaking. The jury has decided. While it is clear that what happened to these children is beyond forgivable, there is not enough evidence linking the defendant Midoriya to the crime. What? I scream out, my previous anxieties melting away, replaced by rage. How can you? My shouts are cut off as the judge's eyes glow blue once again. My screams going silent. The court shall stay quiet while the jury makes its verdict. Akari is unable to move, seemingly frozen in shock, along with the entire aisle of victims. The security staff quickly moving over to stand near us. I can feel his smug smile from here. As I was saying, as none of the victims were able to definitively link Hikaru to the crime, we cannot place the charges on him. I can feel my face go red, my nails digging into and cracking the wooden bench we're sitting on. I look to the judge, mentally demanding them to do something. She just nods. Very well. This court declares Mr. Midoriya, a toxic samurai, not guilty. 2 guards walk over to unlock his binds, as we all sit there, frozen, except for one. From the row of witnesses, a single man stands up. He seems to be one of the older ones here, about 17 if I had to guess. He stands there quietly for a few seconds, before his eyes seem to glaze over. He mouths a silent word before his skin starts to glow a bright orange. The entire court turns to look at him before his hair lights in fire. Then his clothes, his eyes, his entire body. I barely have time to wrap myself around Akari before his screams fill my ears. Boom! I feel the skin on my back and neck be scorched by an intense heat before it quickly dies down. 1,000 needles seem to spike into my back and across my face as my body starts repairing itself. My eyes darken and I feel my consciousness slipping. "Young man," All Might said to me. It was strange, seeing him without his smile. It would have been kind of intimidating if he had bothered to look me in the eye. But he turned away. He couldn't even look at me. It's not bad to dream, but you must be realistic. I know it's impossible, but I could have sworn my soul shattered when he said those words. I have to go, but please don't take this the wrong way. You can still do good for the people around you, even if you're not punching bad guys. You may not be a hero, but you can still save people with a smile. Good luck, young man. And he was off. I felt the tailwind of his jump blowing away the scattered pieces of my soul. Then I was alone, looking down on the streets below me, the people looking like ants from this height. What's realistic? I must have been in shock. All Might himself, my idol, just told me I couldn't be a hero. I felt tears welling up in my eyes. But I didn't feel sad. I felt nothing. I never liked school. Since I was rescued at the age of 10, I had missed out on a lot of chances to make friends, or just learn how to make them for that matter. Because of that, I could appear cold and threatening to the other students, combined with the fact that my dad was a known villain. I don't blame them for being scared. Whack. I don't blame them for defending themselves. Whack. I can heal, I'll be okay. Wham. Oh, that looked like it hurt Riku. He gets scared the most. His quirk allows him to punch at high speeds after drinking something. I think he wanted to test out his punch strength with different drinks. My head's a bit fuzzy. Cola wins again. Riku shouts. A chorus of cheers from the other boys rises up. The chattering continues, slowly fading out. I can't tell if it's from the ringing in my ears or if they're just walking away. I hope I made them feel better. I say to myself as the bell for class begins ringing. I stand up. Arg. My jaw burns as my skin starts to force itself together again, like 1,000 needles are sewing it shut. It hurts, but I have it lucky. I can't imagine how painful it must be to heal without a quirk. After a minute or two of walking to class, my wounds are all gone. Good. The less attention I draw to myself, the better. Excuse me, are you Midoriya? Behind me is a tall man with short, black hair. He's wearing a beige overcoat and holding a clipboard with some documents in his hand. I prefer Ryoto, please. Midoriya was my father's name. Sorry, Ryoto. My name is Detective Tsukachi. I'm sorry to interrupt you during school hours, but we have some questions about last week's attack at the court. Oh, I thought you guys had asked all your questions that night. The detective smiles tiredly. We did, but the case has been handed over to a hero to oversee. After reading the file, he wanted to ask you some questions in person. A hero. Sure then, I guess. Let me just tell my teacher. Your teacher knows. I promise we won't take long. He gestures to one of the spare rooms, walking ahead. I follow behind. As he opens the door for me, I am confronted with the heavy smell of dust. The room is long, with a gray carpeted floor. At the far end of the room are piles of dusty old desks and chairs. In the center of the room, next to a window looking out on the schoolyard, is a single polished desk, an empty chair one side and 2 chairs on the opposite. Only one of those chairs is empty. Sitting in one of the seats, a cup of tea in its hand, is a hamster, or mouse, whatever it is dressed in a very fine suit and watches as Tsukachi walks over and takes the seat next to it. The creature seems to notice me staring and smiles warmly, before turning over to the detective, chuckling lightly. Did you not warn him, Tsukachi? The detective quickly looks up from his papers, surprised, before looking over to me. The creature laughs before speaking up again. Worry not, friend. I'm very well trained. Laughing to himself again. I slowly take the one free seat opposite them, trying to mask the expression on my face. The creature extends his paw out to me. Hello, Ryoto. My name is Nezu. I'm a hero, and a mouse, or a bear, or a dog, who knows? I gently shake his hand. He smiles again. We just wanted to ask you some questions about the attack on the court as well as some other things. Are you all right with that? I nod. Excellent. Do let us know if you need to take a moment. Now, can you start by telling us what you remember of the attack? The memories come flooding, unbidden into my mind before I can stop them. It's not the first time I wished my healing applied to my mind as well as my body. Not a whole lot, to be honest, I say quietly, staring down at the table. It was all pretty sudden and I blacked out pretty quickly. I look up to see them staring at me quietly, silently asking me to continue. Next thing I remember is waking up in the ambulance and being questioned by some officers. The memory once again floods unbidden into the forefront of my mind. The strong sense of sterilizing alcohol and the blare of sirens nearby forefront among them. It's unpleasant, until the sight of a slightly singed, but otherwise healthy Akari comes into focus. She was okay. The thought makes me feel better. The creature, Nezu, looks over to Tsukachi, the latter giving a quick nod before turning back to me. Do you remember any details of the attacker? He asks. Not really. He looked a few years older than me. 16, 17 maybe. With dark hair. Everything's a bit hazy. The detective looks a little disappointed, but Nezu just sits there, the calm smile not leaving his face. He suddenly speaks up. Detective, would you mind giving us a moment alone? Tsukachi looks to his partner, seeming almost surprised, before nodding and walking out of the room, stopping only to grab his empty mug from the desk. A second later the door latches shut. Nezu has not taken his eyes off me. I can feel the anxiety eating away at me. If he doesn't want the detective hearing what he has to say, it can't be good. So Ryoto, last year before high school, isn't it? Do you have any idea where you'd want to go? Okay, wasn't expecting that. Not really, no. I haven't found a career path that interests me really. His smile remains, and he is quick to respond. Really, I'd assume most people your age would be looking at their nearest hero course. Not for you. I won't lie, I'd given it some thought over the years. Being rescued by All Might certainly made it a dream of mine for a bit. But after my father's identity as a villain was revealed, I kinda just wanted to stay out of the whole business. Besides, I don't think my quirk would be a good fit for that kind of work. For the first time Nezu frowns, a look of disbelief or confusion on his face. I think you have an amazing quirk for the job, Ryoto. Thanks, but I'm not really sure how I'd go about fighting villains or saving people from a tsunami. He frowns harder this time, reaching for a bag tucked underneath the desk. He slowly pulls out a silver laptop, placing it on the desk in front of us, the screen completely blocking our line of sight. I hear the clicking of keys before he speaks again. People are too focused on heroes with flashy and powerful quirks. Sure, they're important, but we need as many healers as we do fighters. I almost laugh. Again, I don't think I would do much good. I can only heal myself after all. As soon as the words leave my mouth, the clacking of keys stops. The raised eyebrow of Nezu peeks out over the top of the laptop screen. Take a look at this. The laptop suddenly swivels around to stand sideways between Nezu and I, allowing both of us to view the screen. I stare at the screen for a second before it clicks. This is security footage from the courtroom. I instinctively turn away before a soft, furry paw grabs onto my resting hand. I promise, it doesn't show anything horrible. Please, just watch. Begrudgingly, I look back. The video plays and it instantly zooms to me and Akari. There's a brief second of nothing before I turn to the side with a shocked expression. I barely move to cover the little girl before continuous, bright orange flames cover the screen. The video goes dark for a second, thick, black smoke covering the screen before a small green light starts shining. There's a burst of wind, dispelling the fog and a parting of the fire at my back. It's unusual for me to grow that brightly, though I was being burned alive. That's when I see her, Akari. It seems I didn't cover her as well as I thought. Her arms and her right legs are uncovered and until a few moments ago were smoldering in the fire. I'm grateful for the lack of sound. I don't know if I could have bared hearing her scream. But then, no, it can't be. The green glow emanating from my body slowly sinks into her. In the videos, my eyes are locked shut, my arms clenched in a tight hold around her. I can see the green light go from my forearms into her stomach, before moving to her limbs, which quickly begins to heal. Seeing my face, Nezu pauses the video before placing the laptop away and glancing up at me again. It takes a special kind of person to jump in front of another at the sign of danger, and thanks to your quirk, this bright young girl was able to make it out of the incident unharmed. My jaw has dropped. I'm still struggling to process what my quirk was able to do. You may not think of yourself like that, but in the eyes of myself and especially that little girl, you are a hero. Flashy powers or no. With all due respect, sir, why are you showing me this? Nezu sighs. I may not have been entirely honest about my purpose here. It's true that I am leading the investigation into this matter, but this is the reason I wanted to meet you in person. His calm smile returns and he slips out a piece of paper from his file and slides it over to me. It looks like a high school application. You have an amazing ability to heal and protect that is so rare these days. I would be remiss if I didn't give you the opportunity to use those gifts to help people. I'm at a loss for words, making any attempt to get my mind moving again. I rapidly pick up the application and read through it. The paper is very flashy, with a golden UA symbol at the top. I've heard a lot of the other kids talking about it. Apparently it's good. As I mentioned earlier, these days flashy, powerful quirks are prioritized, so you'll likely need a recommendation to get in. Lucky for you, a certain mysterious animal hero holds some sway with the school. Sure enough, at the bottom of the application is a paw print that I'd assumed to be Nezu's signature. I look back to see the smile on his face now reaching his ears. So, what do you say? It takes me a solid minute to utter anything. Thank you so much, sir. You've certainly given me a lot to think about. His smile lessens. You're still unsure. I'm sorry, sir. I don't mean to sound ungrateful. It's a lot to take in. I understand completely. Entrance exams aren't for another 10 months, so you have time to decide or prepare. Thank you. I'll be sure to give it some thought. That is all I can ask. Nezu's smile remains before he suddenly starts gathering up his papers. Well, that's all for now. You may return to class now. Best of luck with whatever choice you make. I stand up, lightly bowing towards him before leaving the room. Thank you again, sir. He waves me off. Detective Tsukachi is leaning against the opposite wall as I leave, a steaming mug in his hand. He smiles silently before walking into the room and closing the door behind me. A lot has changed in only 5 minutes. I feel the wind tousle through my messy green hair, the bright warmth of the sun shining down on me. I can't be a hero. Any other day, I'd have relaxed and enjoyed the lovely day. Not without a quirk. A heavy gush of wind passes behind me, the force almost pushing me onto the railing that blocks me from the fall below. Maybe you were right, Kaken. I move closer, leaning my head over the railing. The wind continues to lightly kiss my face. A swan dive off the roof. It would be so easy. Pray for a quirk in my next life. The wind suddenly stops, almost like a sign. Then a voice. That is an interesting plan. It sounds like a woman's voice, but not one I recognize. Not that it matters. I lift my foot over the edge. Whoa, hey. Before a strong grip on my shoulder pulls me back, I look over, finally seeing the figure standing next to me. A woman with long blue hair, tied in a high ponytail. She looks like a hero, dressed in a very dark, ninja-like costume. Are you a hero? She seems surprised by the question, taking a moment to respond. If that's what I need to be today, then yes. Then please, go away. I've had enough of heroes today. Again, she goes silent for a moment. Well, I can't really blame you there. Not many of them are worthy of the title these days. I say nothing, leaning my face against the cold metal of the guardrail. But that's not important right now. What's wrong? I look over, trying my best to make an uncaring glare. I can only imagine how stupid it looked with my baby face. I sigh. The world is wrong. She chuckles. Yeah, but what else is new? I slam my hands on the railing. It's not funny. I have worked my butt off my whole life to become a hero, and what do I get? I get the grand honor of being one of the rare quirkless people still around. But Bakugo, the guy who makes my life a living hell day in and day out, gets an amazing quirk. He gets respect. He gets everything. My hands clench the rail tightly, my body feebly trying to force back the tears that are spewing forth. I can't help screaming off into the void, making any attempt to feel anything other than this empty sadness. Then her gentle voice returns. "You're right, it's not funny. I'm sorry, you're clearly going through a lot right now." I don't answer and we just sit in silence for a moment before she sighs. "Look, you need help. And not just on the mental front. Clearly you're a boy with potential who just had a bad luck draw. You need a quirk." Is this girl serious? Well, clearly your quirk is a high IQ if you can make deductions like that. I'll just go buy myself a quirk now, thanks for the suggestion. Or will your Sherlock quirk find one for me? She throws me an annoying smirk, the smug grin that looks down on you. Well, someone's found their balls. Relax, Chicken Little. I know a guy who can give you one. He's been looking for a new experiment anyway. I laugh. Right, someone who can just give quirks? Did they give you something else as well? Maybe some drugs to feed your delusions. My sentence is cut off by a swift fist to my jaw, hurling me down to the stone floor. Confidence is good, kid, but talking like that will get you in trouble. So don't interrupt me, or I'm gonna hit you again. My sudden burst of courage fades as quickly as the tears from my eyes as I meekly look to the floor and nod. Yes, I know a man who can give quirks. His quirk is taking or giving quirks. If you need me to explain that again, then clearly you're not worth my time. I keep my eyes glued to the floor, unwilling to meet her gaze. He's been looking for someone to teach after his last student turned out to be a failure. I think you have promise, if a lot of working out to do, and want to give you that chance. My eyes finally work up the strength to meet her gaze again. I should have learnt by now not to believe in lost causes, but part of me, some desperate, childlike part of me, is still clinging to hope. Maybe I can prove All Might, Kakin, everyone wrong. It's not gonna be easy though, she says, her voice going gentle once again. You'll be stuck with us. Any family you have now, you won't be seeing them again. Can you live with that? Images of Mum flood my mind, unbidden. I'm sorry, Izuku. She deserves a good life. One without a quirkless son dragging her down. I stand up, steeling myself and forcing my tears down. I can. Her eyes just barely give away her look of disbelief. Well, then in that case, would you like your very own quirk? Words I would never have guessed to hear, but couldn't have come at a better time. I do. Good. She turns away from me, placing a finger to a small device in her ear. Kurajiri. Looks like Slimeball is a no-go. The big guy got to him. On the plus side, I have someone I think the boss should meet. Give us a lift. A moment of silence passes before a large black portal appears barely inches from where she stands. I feel like I should be shocked, but this day has drained me of all surprise, it seems. The ninja lady steps towards the portal. I never got your name, by the way. I almost blurted out on instinct, before a cold thought slips into my mind. Good. Let that name die. She raises an eyebrow. Okay, Mr. Edgelord. Welcome to your new life. 10 months flies like a breeze. Not that anything of note really happened in that time. I graduated middle school and did some training to help prepare me for the school year, but that's about it. It hadn't taken long for me to decide to apply either. The more I thought about it, the more I wanted to spend my life on doing what people like my father did. As far as I could find, being a hero was the best way to do that. Still, as I stand outside the school gates, the cherry blossoms shining against the bright sunrise, I can't help but feel like I don't belong here. Not just because of my parentage either. I barely passed the recommendation exams. Studies were never my strong suit, so I failed the written test, and my unhelpful quirk meant I was definitively last in the race. I suspect I only got in because Nezu all but demanded it. I doubt there was any other reason to accept me. Still, I've been given a chance to do good. Or at least try. I probably shouldn't waste it. God, I'm nervous. Everyone else must have incredible quirks. I heard this was the top school after all. I can't imagine the principal handpicks everyone. They'd have to have earned their way in. I did not expect anyone else this early. My overthinking is cut off by a deep voice from the darkness. At the edge of the gates, hiding in the shade of a cherry blossom, is a bird. No, his body is humanoid. I thought it best to see this place before it was crowded with new students. I'm glad to see I'm not the only one who appreciates waking before sunrise. The appearance of this raven-headed figure makes me momentarily forget just how early it was. Oh no, I just lived super close and, well, there wasn't much to do at home. A slight nod. Well, regardless, I should like to see our classroom before the others arrive. So I shall take my leave. My name is Takoyami. He bows deeply and I slowly return in kind. Miss Ryoto. My name is Ryoto. If he noticed my slip-up, he hides it very well. A pleasure, Ryoto. I will see you later. I hastily wave goodbye, still slightly perturbed by the appearance and the strange meeting we just had. But, as far as my social interactions go, this one went pretty well. Maybe this will be good for me. I spent some more time outside before making my way to class. The enormous classroom doors and giant corridors making me feel tiny compared to the countless great heroes who have probably walked these halls. Takoyami was still the only other student when I arrived. He gave me a brief nod but didn't seem too interested in talking, so I slid into the seat to his left and pulled out my school book. Reading always helps to pass the time. Plus, I'm probably starting at a great disadvantage to the other students thanks to my early years of no schooling. As time went on, more and more students began to file in. Unlike me, these social butterflies had no qualms about striking up conversations with strangers, and soon the room was filled with bright, cheery chatting. Even the mysterious Takoyami was speaking with someone, two someones actually, unless there's a psychic quirk keeping the empty uniform afloat. But why would someone? Excuse me, not for the first time today. I'm released from my prison of thoughts by a person approaching me. Turning my eyes from the page, I am greeted by a somewhat familiar-looking girl with perhaps the most insane hairstyle I've ever seen. Sorry to interrupt your reading, but you were at the recommendation exam, weren't you? That's right. She was the girl who turned in her exam after only 20 minutes. Seems it didn't hurt her score. Yes, I was. My name's Ryoto. You were the one who sped through the exam, right? She seems surprised by the use of what she likely already knows is my first name, but that look is quickly washed away after I mentioned the exam. Oh, I wouldn't say sped through. I went over each question multiple times, but after doing all the mock tests as well as studying past exams, there weren't many questions I hadn't already memorized. So this is the level the other students are at. I really don't belong here. Seeing my look of stunned silence, she quickly speaks up again. Apologies. My name is Yaoyorozu, though you may call me Momo. You've trusted me with your first name after all. I suppose I should return in kind. She's very traditional. I wanted to congratulate you on making it into UA. I know it must have been a difficult choice for you given your past, and I admire that greatly. My past, so she knows about. Her gentle smile quickly fades to a look of pure anxiety. Oh, my deepest apologies. I did not realize what a sensitive topic I was bringing up. Please forgive me. Clearly I wasn't thinking. She quickly bows, deeper than anyone I've seen before. Clearly she feels terrible. I take a moment to compose myself before I speak. It's okay, really. I'm mostly surprised anyone knows about that. A sinister voice cuts in. Oh, everyone knows. It was all over the news when it happened, especially after you saved that girl. A black-haired boy stares at us from the seat in front of mine. I hadn't even noticed him arrive. His eyes are a curious green and small freckles line his face. If it weren't for his hair and general demeanor, he'd look like an innocent little kid. Momo, having forgotten her earlier embarrassment, perks up. You're Mikumo Akatani, aren't you? You placed first in the entrance exam by over 30 points. The boy shrugs as if to look humble. With that smile, he's enjoying the praise. It was just luck. My quirk happened to be perfect for the test. I just feel sorry for the others in my group. Why is that? I say, trying to gauge Akatani. For whatever reason, I feel like he's hiding something. Unfortunately, it's Momo who speaks up. The examinees had to fight robots to earn points, but due to his sheer power, no one else was able to destroy more than 2 or 3 robots. No one besides him got more than 10 points, with one exception. This guy must be insanely powerful if he failed all the other applicants just by being there. There may have been some very promising students who didn't make it in because of him. Who was the exception? I asked, and it was Mikumo who answered. Oh, some kid who could pull sticky balls from his head managed to scrape up 11 points. It was quite impressive, really. What is this guy's deal? He's obviously hiding something. His eyes have not moved from staring at me this whole conversation. That sinister smirk returns to his face as he continues to speak. But enough of me. I'm curious to know why the son of a villain chose to join such a prestigious hero academy. I'm shocked. The audacity of this boy. I turn to look at Momo and see the same look of surprise on her face. At least I'm not the only one seeing it. I scramble to think for a minute of what I should say. Momo seems like she wants to step in on my behalf but is unsure if she should. Even Takoyami is looking over at us now. What the hell should I say? Screw this guy. I don't owe him an explanation. That's not really a Izuku. My sentence is cut off by a roaring scream from the door of the class. The whole room goes dead silent as all eyes fall on the student who just screamed. He's tall, with blonde spiky hair. His school bag haphazardly thrown over one shoulder, but his most obvious feature is his eyes. Eyes that seem to be filled with every emotion I've ever seen. Anger, fear, guilt, sadness, relief, disbelief. And those eyes are locked on the creepy boy in front of us. The boy who seems completely unperturbed by what is happening. Huh, did you say something? The blonde boy seems taken aback, but stammers forward regardless. Is it really you? Where have you been? What happened to you? Your mum is. The blonde boy goes silent as Akatani raises a single finger. I'm going to stop you right there. You seem to have me confused with someone else. My name is Mikumo Akatani. I don't think we've met before. The blonde boy looks like he's seen a ghost. But you look. I swear it. Appearing out of almost thin air. Another tall boy with blue hair and glasses steps in front of the blonde student. Akatani has made it clear he does not know you. If you insist on bothering our highest scoring student, I will be forced to inform the faculty. The blonde student suddenly has a look of wild agitation. How quickly he went from shocked to angry is quite impressive. It was a mistake. Tin Man, get out of my face. The student with glasses is unbothered, somehow standing up even straighter. My name is Tenya Ida, not Tin Man. You should apologize to Akatani and myself immediately. The look of sheer rage in the blonde kid's eyes is unbelievable. Shut up, Boy Scout. You won't get anything from me. That's enough. The room goes silent for a second time as a giant slug appears in the doorway. Tenya Ida, Katsuki Bakugo, go to your seats. Now, the creature's eyes glow a bright red as he speaks that last word, and both students do not hesitate to comply. As they do, what I thought was a slug's body unzips to reveal a brooding, disheveled figure stepping out of a sleeping bag. Who is this guy? He looks like he hasn't slept in weeks. Hello, I'm Shota Aizawa. I'm your teacher. I'm not the only one who seems surprised by that statement. Ignoring our murmurs of shock, he presses a button on a small device that opens up parts of the wall. Shelves seem to slide out of the wall, each holding a box numbered 1 to 20. I know it's sudden, but go change and meet me on the field. A girl with deep pink skin raises her hand, then asks her question before she is even called upon. But sir, what about the orientation ceremony? He looks completely bored with everything that is happening. We at UA are not restricted by school tradition. It's one of the many things that make UA the top hero school in the country. As such, I am free to run my class however I wish, so you'll be skipping your ceremony. And instead I'll be assessing each of you and how you use your quirks. Oh, and by the way, the one who comes in last will be expelled. There's an audible gasp from the entire room. Everyone here besides myself fought tooth and nail to be here. Now their position is threatened. My quirk really only has one use, to heal myself. I know I have the ability to heal others, but in all these months I still haven't figured out how. I should probably come last. I deserve to be here least. Maybe the principal will intervene if Aizawa tries to expel me. These thoughts continue to plague my mind as we head for the change rooms. It was a warm day, the kind where you could feel the sun dancing on your skin and the wind flying around you. If nothing else, it was a nice day to be outside. This quirk assessment test will go through 8 physical exercises. The kind of thing you would have done in middle school, except this time you can use your quirk however you like to help you push past the normal human limit. Murmurs of excitement began to crop up throughout the class. Thanks to my healing ability, I've always done pretty well in sporting events. Maybe this won't go so bad. The Ministry of Education is still trying to force people to believe that everyone is equal. Standardized testing destroys all individuality and rids the population of their unique strengths. It's not rational. Akatani, you finished top of the practical exam, so you can go first to demonstrate my point. In junior high, what was your best softball throw? Akatani smirks. 46 meters. That's not too bad, but nothing spectacular. Then try it now, using your quirk. Akatani steps forward, taking the ball in his hands. At least now I can get an idea of what his quirk is. He grips the ball tightly and sends his arm straight out, almost like his limb is the barrel of a cannon. His arm clenches really tight as, boom, the ball goes soaring at incredible speeds into the air and out of sight. Some kind of propulsion quirk, or maybe air control. Knowing the limits of your power, that is the most rational start for a hero, said Aizawa, showing us the results. 1,256 meters. There's an impressed silence in the class before the others pipe up, some demanding their turn, others saying how fun it will be. Fun huh? Aizawa says. Don't forget, your place in class is on the line. If you all perform poorly, it won't just be last place who must leave, so give it your all. One by one, others continued with the ball throw. I managed 53 meters when it came to my turn. Not my best, but nothing I did was going to compete with the hundreds of meters most were getting. One girl even got infinity. Somehow. Next was the 50-meter sprint, and again, I was outmatched. I was pretty happy with my 6:11, but some of the class were getting into the 3 and 4 seconds. Akatani and Ada almost got it down to 2 seconds. This is insane. Next we checked grip strength. I actually did better than most in this with my 53 kilograms. The only real standouts were a student named Kirishima who managed 74 kilos, Akatani who hit 328, and an octopus-like student named Shoji who hit a whopping 540 kgs. I'm pretty sure that maxed out the reader. After that we had a standing long jump. No exact scores this time. You either clear the sandpit or you don't. I didn't, though Akatani did. It seems like he has too fine a control over it to be a propulsion quirk. The next event was repeated side steps. Almost no one did very well in these. Momo did slightly better, creating pads on her feet to better bounce to each side. 2 students named Tsuyu and Ajiro did very well, but not enough to beat Akatani, who almost looked like a blur. Some kind of kinetic energy control. At this point I'm at a loss. The next event was probably my biggest chance to shine, a distance run. Thanks to my healing, I excel at endurance events. It was perhaps my only chance to get out of last place. Akatani, Bakugo, Ida, and pretty much everyone else though had some way to increase their speed. It went very quickly from an endurance race to just a race where I was ahead of only 4 or 5 people. Not enough to get my score out of last. Everyone else behind me had performed exceptionally in one of the other events so far, except I had almost forgotten. In dead last, behind even me, was the invisible girl. She hadn't performed exceptionally well in anything either. In fact, thanks to my decent athleticism, I had probably done better than her in the events before this. She was going to be last. That wasn't fair. Being invisible is a really useful quirk, especially as a spy hero. Here I was feeling sorry for myself and how unfair this test was for me when it was even more unfair for her. There were only 2 tests left after this. It may just be enough. I let her and everyone else overtake me and came in last. It's okay though. I got to experience one day of a hero's life. And I helped someone who will go on to do a lot of good. I can live with that. Next event was the toe touch. Probably a chance for flexible heroes to shine, but no standouts here. I made sure to not reach my full height. Final test, the sit-ups. Unlike middle school though, this wasn't a test of how many you could do. These were heavily weighted sit-ups, designed to test if your quirk can improve your strength. We would be getting into a large metal machine that placed weighted metal slabs on your body, forcing you to use only your muscles to lift it. A surprising amount of students did really well in this. Akatani and Shoji were competing for the top, both of them reaching 500 kgs, which is the highest the machine we were using could go. I made sure the invisible girl, who Momo told me was called Toru, went first so I could perform less than her. She managed 20 kgs, which, given she had never done weighted sit-ups before, was actually quite impressive. Then it was my turn. Aizawa would ask us to start with half of what we thought we could manage, then let us build up from there. I requested a start at 5 kgs. I could lift it without too much trouble, but given that I'd have to stop soon, I made a show of struggling already. I'm taking you up to 20. Aizawa said, no please, just 15 for now, I don't want to push it. I could almost feel the look in his eyes from behind me. You know your quirk is healing, right? I'm gonna have to sell this. Who knew the hero course would have me practicing acting so much? Just being safe, sir. I hear his grumble and the click of the machine unlocking, and I push. The weight is actually a lot more than I expected. Guess it's the weird angle. Nonetheless, it helps me sell my failure as I almost make it to the top, before quickly coming back down. I guess 15 is my max. I think I'm done here. I go to sit up, but my body doesn't budge. The machine is locked. The full weight of 500 kilos plus locked metal bars is pinning me down. I think it's stuck. It won't let me out. Aizawa walks out from behind the machine to look at me. You think I don't know what you're doing? Sir, I did my best. Please let me. That weight you just lifted was 50 kgs. Stop lying. All the excuses in my head are quickly dissolved as I look into the teacher's unblinking gaze. You think you can just coast through this class and not worry about expulsion because the principal recommended you, is that it? Well, yes and no. I know you purposefully came last in the marathon, and I know you can do better here. The principal's protection won't last long if I tell him you are purposefully failing his class and spitting on the opportunity he fought to get you. Everyone else here got in based on merit alone. You are the only person who hasn't earned their place here, and you're also the only person taking it for granted. I feel ashamed. Sir, it's not like that. These tests are designed for people with powerful, flashy quirks. I didn't want people who had worked really hard to get here to be expelled just because they didn't have a fitting quirk. I was going to take the expulsion so that no one else had to. His gaze continues, looking at me unflinchingly. Do you honestly think I wouldn't take that into account? I don't exactly have a flashy quirk myself. I hadn't thought of that. This isn't a test about whose quirk can shoot a ball the farthest. It's about who can get the most out of their quirk, and right now, I haven't seen anything from you. I'm giving you one more chance. Try your best, or I'll be expelling you and another student. Well, crap. Is this guy really a hero teacher? He knows how to motivate me at the very least. Put it up to 90. Aizawa nods. I hear the click. The machine unlocks. The weight is heavy this time. 50 wasn't too bad, but this was a struggle. I was barely halfway up when I felt my core starting to burn. 110. The click, the unlocking, then push again. I was at a disadvantage this time. My muscles were tiring, but I pressed on. I barely made it to the top before almost falling back to the bottom. My body was on fire. I had pushed myself so much green healing energy was pulsing around my torso. 120. Click, unlock, push. Somehow, this weight was easier, like my muscles had been refreshed. It wasn't easy, but I still made it to the top, the healing energy now thrumming in my core. 150. Are you sure? Came the question from Aizawa. Yes, 150 now. I barely waited for the machine to unlock before I started pushing. Divided by it was like bursting out running lava. My torso was on fire and my head was pounding. I was glowing so green now I was hurting my own eyes. I just barely made it to the top before I let the whole weight crash down on me. But I wasn't done yet. 200. There was a gasp from some of the class. "No, I'm stopping you there," Aizawa said. Though I didn't hear him, the ringing in my ears was too loud and the burning of my body too painful. I pushed, and nothing budged, so I pushed harder, willing my body to break if it had to, and I felt the slightest budge. I kept pushing, kept going, despite the scream around me. I realized my eyes were forced shut, and as I opened them, I was met with the smirking, smug gaze from Akatani, and in that moment I had only one thought. Screw you. I gave the weight one last push, giving everything I had. I felt the weight move and heard the sound of screeching, snapping metal as the locks on the machine broke apart, and I was at the top. I'd done it. But how had I done it? That was the last thought I had before my mind shuddered to black. I awoke to the class gathered around me and Aizawa in the back, on the phone. Ada's voice was the first I heard. "Sir, he's awake." Aizawa turned back to look at me. "Never mind, recovery girl. This one's fine on his own." Hanging up the phone, Aizawa made his way over to me. "Are you all right?" My head is pounding, and my core feels like a swarm of fire ants. A good sign for my healing, I suppose. I will be. Good. Now, just because you can heal doesn't mean you can make stupid decisions like that. You damaged school property. Be more responsible next time. Well, can't say I didn't have that one coming. A few of the students help me up. As Aizawa starts addressing the class. "Since we're all done, I'll quickly show you the results. The score is based on your performance in each test and how you use your quirk. Well, this is it. Hopefully my performance back there was enough to keep anyone else from being expelled. And not enough that it'll still be me." Aizawa clicks a button on a small device and a projector lights up, displaying our final results. First, Mikumo Akatani. Second, Momoge Yurazu. Third, Shoto Todoroki. Fourth, Hatsuki Bakugo. Fifth, Fumikage Takoyami. Sixth, Meshurawa Jiro. Seventh, Dejiro Kirishima. Eighth, Mina Ashido. Ninth, Mizo Shoji. 10th, Achako Uraraka. 11th, Tenya Ida. 12th, Suiwa Sui. 13th, Rikido Sato. 14th, Yuga Aoyama. 15th, Hanta Siro. 16th, Koji Koda. 17th, Denki Kaminari. 18th, Kyoka Jiro. 19th, Toru Hagakure. 20th, Ryoto Mizuroji. Wait, Toru beat me, even after I maxed out the sit-up machine. Guess she didn't need my help after all. Well, that's that. But I am a little disappointed. I feel like Aizawa showed me how much potential I may really have. Shame to be leaving so soon. "Oh, by the way," says Aizawa, "I was lying about the expulsion. I just needed you all to be trying your best." "What?" come the ringing shouts from the class. The other students are talking, but I don't hear them. I'm still in. I didn't think I was that invested in this class, but I'm relieved. I guess I'm going to be a hero. No, I will be a hero. Aizawa's right. I can't just coast along and expect to get through this. I'm gonna work my ass off to become a hero worthy of this class. I'll prove my dad wrong. Anyway, that's all for today. Aizawa's droll voice cuts in. Return to the class and study the curriculum. The tests only get harder from here. As the teacher walks off, the rest of the class slowly disperses, chatting excitedly about what this class may have in store. As I look back on all the tests we did today, I must say, I feel the same. My daydreaming is interrupted by a cold hand on my shoulder. "Ryoto, can I talk with you for a moment?" Akatani. Ryoto looks back at me with an annoyed expression. I can't really blame him. I'm used to keeping much rougher company. I wanted to apologize for what I said earlier. Clearly it made you uncomfortable and I'm sorry. Simple, no over-explaining and acknowledging their feelings. If this doesn't work, then clearly I need more practice talking with other teenagers. His face has shifted ever so slightly. He looks a bit more relaxed, but it's hard to tell. Either this kid is an incredible actor or he's not very good with emotion. It's fine. I get why everyone would be so curious, but it's just something I don't like to talk about. Trouble with emotions it is. Suppose that makes sense. Mizuroji SR hasn't exactly won any Father of the Year awards. That's more than fair. I'll try to be more courteous in the future. Thank you, he says, his eyes drifting off. That being said, if you ever need anything, you can always talk to me. We are classmates after all. We should be there to help each other out. His eyes return to me, rings of curiosity. Well, there is something I was wondering about actually. Good, let's build that trust. Ask away, I say smiling. What is your quirk? I've been trying to work it out all day, but it's so hard to pin down. It seems like you can do so much with it. Interesting. I didn't expect someone like him to be so focused on quirks. Everyone's alike on some level, it seems. Oh yes, I can see why it'd be confusing. My quirk is telekinesis. I can move things with my mind. Oh, I see. Is that why you were able to fly? By lifting yourself up. Perhaps I went a little overboard on showing off my power. I'll need to keep that in mind. Oh no, it's not flying. More like levitating. I can lift myself and others off the ground slightly without too much effort, but trying to actually fly is just too much to focus on. That's why exercises like the grip strength or sit-ups were so easy for me. I only had to focus on moving one simple thing in one direction. As I'm speaking, a wave of confusion washes over him. I had hoped over-explaining my quirk would help move us to a different topic, but it seems he still has questions. Wait, did you use your power to help me in the sit-up challenge? Ooh, he's a bit more clever than I gave him credit for. A little, specifically on your last round when you broke the machine, and a little bit once you went over 100. He still looks confused. But why? Because my plans are much easier with you in this class. I agreed with you about how the test was unfair for people with certain quirks. Plus, I felt bad about how we had met earlier. I couldn't make amends if you were expelled now, could I? Good excuse. Well, I guess I should thank you. But in future I'd like to fail or succeed on my own merit. Interesting. Aizawa was very wrong about you, it seems. Duly noted. Although it seems like with a bit more training you'll reach that level on your own soon. To me at least, it seemed like your muscles were getting stronger as you healed. Spend a whole night just lifting weights and who knows how strong you might get. He seems almost surprised. How has he lived with a quirk for this long and not discovered this? I suppose it's possible. Unfortunately, I live in a foster home. They're very poor and don't really have any exercise equipment. It's called a push-up Ryoto. Goodness. Well, I heard there was a training room available for students after hours. They might have some stuff there. If not, you could always try some bodyweight exercises. He looks very deep in thought. You would think this guy had never thought about the possibilities of his quirk before. I'll have to give it a look. Thank you, Akatani. I misjudged you. And we're in. No problem. Anyway, we should be getting back to class. Don't want to fall behind, right? He exclaimed. We said nothing on the walk back to class. The rest of the school day was fairly uneventful. Most classes were off due to the welcoming ceremony, so most of our class just spent the time talking. I even made progress on some friendships. Ida and Uraraka both seem like good students. They'll help Akatani's image. Bakugo also seems to have been thoroughly convinced that I'm not who he thinks. That's good. I even got Ryoto to trust me a bit more. It was strange, being among normal people again, and nice not to have to constantly watch my back. But I can't lose sight of why I'm doing this. What needs to be done? I'd like to do more research, but right now Todoroki and Bakugo definitely seem like the biggest threats. Yaoyorozu and Takoyami also did well. I should keep an eye on them. The rest I can't see posing too much of a threat. I continue to mentally catalog the other students and their quirks until I reach the end of a small alleyway. Taking a quick look to ensure no one else is around, I pull out my cell phone and call my ride home. Kurogiri, I'm here. In but seconds, a large, dark portal swallows me whole and I arrive in the dark, but cozy bedroom I have come to call home. The room is small and the two individuals inside already make it seem a little too crowded. Welcome back, Midoriya. I trust everything went well. Kurogiri asks, his smoky, shadow-like form absent-mindedly polishing a large glass. Yes, how did it go? Did you see All Might? Was he really there? Tamura hurriedly asks, his face absent of the stone hand that usually covers it. I raise my hands up to stop the torrent of questions that are undoubtedly about to come. It went well. You'll hear all the details soon, I promise. But I should report to the boss first. I'm listening, Izuku, came the deep voice from the old TV screen. We have all been eagerly awaiting your return. Please, tell us everything. I nod, collecting my thoughts slowly before I speak. Akatani's first day went well. No one suspects anything and he is excelling at his class. I said, I didn't see All Might, but he was definitely there. You can hear his blustering voice from the other side of the campus. Good. All for one said. Were there any complications with your classmates? Nothing so far. Bakugo is in the same class as me, but he never suspected me. I lied. There may be a few students we need to account for, but I'd like to see them in action a bit more before I properly report anything. Tamura can barely keep his excitement in, bursting out with another question. What about the schedule? Do we have a good chance to attack All Might? I pause for a moment, giving the boss a chance to interrupt if he wants. After a few seconds of nothing, I reach into my bag and pull out the school map. The day-to-day schedule is unknown to the students, but I did find the teacher's office. All Might's desk is in this corner here. I point on the map. Kurogiri should be able to warp in, copy the computer's hard drive, and get any information you need from there. I said, feeling quite proud of myself. Good work, came the voice of All for One. Go rest. You'll be informed when the attack is going ahead once we have the information. Excellent. I can't wait to see that glorified actor begging for his life. Silence. Normally the mere mention of All Might in trouble is enough to get Tamura smiling. But he and Kurogiri both seem oddly pensive. Izuku, we know how much killing All Might means to you. Tamura begins before I cut him off. Don't you dare set me aside for this. This is what we've been planning for nearly a year now. All this work to get to this moment. Don't tell me I'm not going to be right there with everyone else. Izuku, Tamura begins. He's been the closest thing I had to a brother since I arrived here. He must know how important this is for me. No, you have no right to. Enough. Silence. Utter silence. All for One's voice is enough to make us pause at the best of times. Hearing him raise his voice is enough for all our hairs to stand on end. You will not be joining the fight. That is my decision and it is final. I want to speak up, but all of us know better than to interrupt him when he's speaking. Should this attack be unsuccessful, your position as a student of All Mights gives us far too much information. It is something we cannot afford to risk this early on. Besides, you were made for far greater things than just killing All Might. You need to be in the public eye as soon as possible. UA is the best place for you to do that. Do you understand? What he says makes sense. I'm letting my emotions get the better of me again. Still, I can't help but be upset by how this has turned out. Yes, all for one. Good, now rest and continue your classes. We will handle the rest. I head towards my room before stopping. I almost forgot. Oh, one more thing. You know Toxic Samurai? Well, his son is in my class. I figured you'd want to know. There's a visible look of surprise on Kurogiri's misty face. All for one is silent for a moment before uttering a single word. Interesting. I hate this new route home. At my old school, I didn't have to go out of my way, but now, every day after school, I would follow the path he took. From the school grounds, through the residential area, then under the bridge. It was easy. Took 10 minutes, then I could start my search. Now it's an hour just to get to the damn bridge. Not to mention I've searched the area 100 times, so it takes me another hour to start searching somewhere I haven't been before. I don't even know what I'm looking for anymore. I used to look for clues, a sign, anything really. But it's been almost a year. Anything that might have been there would be long gone now. I don't know. I guess now I am just hoping for anything. I used to hate that kid. I'd spend all day trying to shake him off my back, but now, I'd give everything just to see his dumb green hair again. Gah, I'm getting too damn soft. I was hoping I could start fresh at UA. I could finally move on. But then that damn Akutani kid. He didn't even look like Deku. His hair, his whole damn face was different. It was those eyes. Those damn green eyes. As soon as I saw them, all those memories came flooding back. I hate it. I hate him. Why would he do this to us? To me. I was gonna be the #1 hero before this. Now I can't stop thinking about him. Finding him. I'll still be #1 of course, but it used to be my top priority. It was everything for me, it was what I fought for. But now I just want to be a hero so I can find that damn nerd. It sickens me. I miss him. I fucking miss him and I hate it. These thoughts drown me, as they always do. When I finally snap to again, it's well after dark and once again I'm standing outside her door like a lost puppy. Knock knock. Coming, comes her muffled voice from behind the door. And as it opens, I'm met with the sad, bloodshot eyes of Izuku Midoriya. Katsuki, I wasn't expecting you today. I'm so sorry. I'll cook you something right away. You must be starving. Don't bother, I'll eat when I'm home, I say as I step into the tiny apartment. Are you sure? It's really no trouble, she says meekly. I hate seeing her like this. It's so damn depressing. Come to think of it, I can't remember a time when she didn't look like this. I said don't bother, didn't I? Are you hard of hearing now? You gotta stop being so kind to me. You know, I'm not your kid. She closes the door and silently moves over to the couch, a cold cup of tea sitting gently in front of her. She sits there, looking at the floor. Arg, you let your drink go cold again, I say, grabbing her tea and heading to the kitchen. Oh Katsuki, you don't have to. If you don't want me reheating your damn drink, then finish it next time. The room is silent, barring the humming of the microwave. As it's running, I grab some of the nearby peanut butter and bread. Stale. Damn it, woman, are you avoiding shopping again? She doesn't speak. The microwave clicks done and I head back to the couch, placing a stale sandwich and her reheated tea on the coffee table in front of her. She doesn't move. Eat, I'm not leaving until you do. She meekly picks up the sandwich and takes a tiny bite. Do you want to talk about it? She whispers. About what? Whatever brought you here tonight. She looks up at me and my throat catches. She has those same damn eyes. That same look. Even in her state she still wants to help me. God Deku, you and your mother are annoyingly alike. There's nothing to talk about. Just mind your own damn business. She doesn't move, keeping her eyes fixed on me. I thought I saw him today, I say. Her hand lightly clutches my shoulder. That can't have been easy. He had the same green in his eyes. It was like a ghost coming to haunt me. Katsuki, Izuku isn't haunting you. You can't keep blaming yourself. I shove myself off the couch, my anger too heavy to contain. Well then who else should I blame, huh? Is there another fucking kid out there who told Deku to kill himself? Again, Inko just stares at me, with that same foggy sadness in her eyes. I didn't think so. I force out. I fall back onto the couch, my anger all but deflated. It takes all I have to not let my tears show. She doesn't need to see it and neither do I. Yes, you were cruel to him, Katsuki. For a long time I did blame you for Izuku going missing. but you have been punished enough. You have had the guilt weighing on you for long enough. You have spent every day trying to make up for your mistakes. To this day, you're still looking for him. Long after the pros stopped searching, long after the police, even after I had given up hope. I force my tears back, trying to avoid her gaze. It'll break me if I see it. You're the one thing that gives me hope, Katsuki. And these days, your visits are all I really have to look forward to. Wherever Izuku is, I think he'd feel a lot better knowing you were looking after me. I sit up straight, clearing my throat. I forgive you, Katsuki. And just like that, my damn eyes start watering again. Don't think you can talk your way out of eating. Eat the damn sandwich before it gets even staler. Thankfully, she turns away and takes a small bite. For the next few minutes, we sit in silence, remembering the boy who should have also been in the room. I hate this quiet. I reach for the TV remote, anything to get some noise and color into this apartment. What have you been watching recently? She quickly perks up. Oh, I'm so sorry, I lost track of time. Let me call you a taxi. Sit down and shut up, woman. I'm not leaving till you've eaten that whole damn sandwich. Begrudgingly, she sits down, resting the plate on her lap again. I've been watching a documentary on parrots. That tracks. All right, bird facts it is. We would barely speak a word for the rest of the night. Sometimes we would talk for hours. Sometimes we just needed to not be alone with our thoughts. This was one of those nights. And as boring as this documentary was, it was better than wallowing alone in my own guilt. The next morning went uneventfully. I spent some time building further on my friendships with Uraraka and Ida, and though I tried, Ryota was still not much of a talker. Guess he's just a bit more insular. Shouldn't be a problem. The real highlight of the day, however, was the afternoon. The first sign we had was the thunderous steps of All Might charging down the corridor. Then the classroom door being flung open. I am here, coming through the door like a hero. The class was ablaze with chatter. Most were amazed that he was, in fact, a teacher. Some more perceptive students were commenting on his Silver Age costume he was wearing, a detail I would have eaten up only a year ago. Now, I'm more focused on his form. It's hard to say since it's been so long, but I could swear he looks the tiniest bit smaller. All Might. The whisper behind me is almost imperceptible, but I just barely catch it. Turning around to the seat behind me, I see Ryota looking dumbstruck. No, not quite. Reverently, at All Might. Another reaction I likely would have had before meeting him all those months ago. He and Izuku would have gotten along well. Not wanting to stare at the boy behind me, I turn back to All Might right as he finishes his sentence. Combat training. More excited shouts from the students. I must admit, I'm excited too, though for different reasons. And to go with that are these costumes based on your designs submitted before school started. Go get changed and gather in ground beta. Yes, sir, came the roaring reply from the class. This should be fun. Akatani, came the call from Uraraka, dressed in a skin-tight, astronaut-like costume. Wow, that's an interesting choice for an outfit, very fancy. My outfit wasn't really a costume in the traditional sense. I had requested a lightweight tailored suit, which was more for aesthetic purposes. I preferred to let my power speak for itself, though there were two functional pieces. I had dark, rubber gloves that would hopefully protect me a little from close-range electrical attacks. My suit jacket was also fireproof, if a little heavy. The idea would be to have it hover in front of me to shield me from fire attacks. Given the abundance of electrical and fire-related quirks in most hero courses, I figured extra protection against them would be a smart choice. Indeed, said Ida. It reminds me of performing magicians I used to see as a kid. Of course they would think of something so childish. Although, something is bothering me about Ida's suit. It looks very similar to something, though my mind is running blank. Thank you, both of your costumes look great too. I lied. All Might's booming voice thankfully cuts our conversation short. Great clothes everyone, you all look cool. But as fun as hero costumes are, it's important to remember, when you wear them you are a hero. People will be looking to you. It's important not to let them down and to always act heroic no matter where you are. Yes, sir. Another droning call from the class. Seriously, how does anyone take him seriously? I must have been so naive. Now, shall we get started, rookies? Sir, Ada says, his hand shooting up in question. This is a battleground from the entrance exam. Will we be conducting urban battles again? No, All Might replied. You will be facing a different challenge. While most news reports of villain attacks happen outside, a vast majority of villains are fought indoors. Hideouts, backroom deals, prison escapes. Well, he's got that right at least. Only idiotic or overconfident villains commit their attacks in highly populated areas. It's basic all. Why asking every hero nearby to come after you? For this class, you'll be splitting into teams of 2 heroes and 2 villains, then going head-to-head in an indoor battle. A chorus of questions begin rattling off from various class members. Even All Might looks a bit flustered. I promise, all your questions will be answered, he says, reaching for something in his pocket. Is that a script? Seriously? This is just comical. The situation is this. The villains have hidden a nuclear weapon inside TH. Despite how far All Might's voice projects, I can't help but lose focus. To think, it was less than a year ago that I was a whiny kid, trying to follow in every giant, clumsy footstep All Might had ever made. I would have loved to have been where I am now. In a hero course, with friends, being taught how to be a hero by none other than the big man himself. I would have loved it, had he not shown me the truth that day, about how disgusting these so-called heroes really are. Heh, I suppose that's one thing I should thank him for, not that he'd care. Despite being our teacher, despite how much work I've done to stand out in this class, he doesn't even recognize me. Sure, my disguise is good, my entire face was shifted, but my eyes never changed. The eyes that used to be full of wonder and hope. He doesn't even recognize the eyes he drained of all light. What a joke. Akutami, Uraraka bounces over to me. I look around and see that most of the class is walking away, except for Ada and Bakugo, who are walking into a nearby building. Looks like we're up first, she says enthusiastically. We're gonna have a tough time. Bakugo and Ada are both pretty strong, so it's us against them, huh? This should be interesting. You don't seem all that nervous, I say back, the cogs in my mind already planning our attack. Well, as strong as they are, I don't think they have much of a chance against you. She's right. Their quirks are strong, but my power is too overwhelming for anyone in this class. Against us, Uraraka. We're a team in this. Her face lights up. Manipulating these kids isn't even a challenge at this point. Do you have a plan? She asks, likely noticing the thoughtful look on my face. The start of one, but first, I look over to her. I could decimate the other two myself, but I should at least make it seem like I'm willing to be a team. Plus, she'll trust me more if she feels that I value her skills. Tell me about your quirk. I know it has something to do with gravity, but what exactly does it do? Another smile, right on the money. I can make things weightless by touching them, but the more I hold up, the more exhausted I get. Sorry, my quirk's kind of like a worse version of yours, huh? She says, scratching the back of her head in embarrassment. She's right, my quirk is better, but there's actually some good synergy between both of our abilities. Not at all. Actually, it's perfect. She looks surprised, but knowing what she can do, my plan finally clicks. Once the timer starts, we have 15 minutes. We can either win by getting to the bomb or capturing the villains, right? She nods, pulling out a thin roll of white tape. If we wrap them up in this, they're captured and out for the round. I nod. Wrapping them in tape is a bit cumbersome, but we'll manage. Okay, here's the plan. They have the slight edge, as time running out will also lead to their win. Basically, we're the only ones on a time crunch. As their quirks aren't defensive in nature, they'll likely have one of them leave the bomb to slow us down while the other remains to defend it. The smart move would be having Ida be the one going out, as he could make good use of his speed to quickly find us and engage in hit-and-run tactics. Achaku nods thoughtfully. So should we set a trap for Ida that he won't see using his speed? That's actually a smart idea. I hadn't thought of that, but no. Ada would be the smarter option. But Bakugo's pride won't let him sit by as a defender. He'll want to come out and challenge us himself, forcing Ada to stay behind and defend the bomb. Bakugo is dangerous, so we'll need to take him out quickly. He'll probably engage me first as I'm the bigger threat. I'll keep him occupied, while you do whatever you can to touch him. Once he's weightless, it'll be incredibly easy to keep him still while you wrap him up. Of course, I could do that by myself, but hopefully this is enough to make her feel useful. She nods again. Then what about Ida? Ida is in a bad position defending the bomb. He can't use his speed too much or he'll be too far away from the bomb to defend it. But if he tries to stay close to it, he won't be able to get up to high speeds. When we find the bomb, I'll try to restrain or draw him away while you grab the bomb. Got that? Got it, she says, sticking her thumb up in an excited pose. Good, now we just wait. Horn blaring. Never mind, we go in now. This will be fun. I'm excited to see how helpless Kakin is now against my power. A few minutes have already passed. No sign of Kakin. I had expected him to come out of the gates fighting, but I guess he's more careful than I gave him credit for. Besides, this building is quite complex. He may be having a hard time just finding us. We've started by methodically checking each room as we go up. No point in being stealthy since we're trying to be found anyway. Wait, do you hear that? Uraraka whispers. I stop moving, listening intently. There's definitely something. But, no, that can't be right. It sounds like an engine. I quickly press myself flat against the wall, shoving Uraraka down with my mind just in time for Ida to come roaring past us down the hall. He barely missed us, landing on the far side of the hallway with a large thud, one of his legs braced against the wall. Prepare yourselves, heroes, for you face the dark might of the evil Blur and Blast duo. What? Ada, what are you doing? Uraraka asks from behind us. Defeating you do-gooders. MWHAHAHAHAHA. Then as soon as he arrived, he went thundering off down another passage, his evil laugh echoing around us. He must be building up speed for another attack. Akutami, what do we do? We didn't plan for this, because there should have been no way Kaken would have let Ada take the lead. It's fine, our plan for Bakugo still works on Ada. We just have to be ready. Here it comes, the rumbling of his engines getting closer. He went the same direction as last time. Idiot. I turn around, facing the wall behind us, preparing a huge blast of psychic energy. Thwack. My back explodes in a sharp burst of pain as Ada charges me into the wall. How the hell did he get behind me? Foolish heroes. These halls sure are echoey, aren't they? MWUHAHA. The only fool here is you. As he decelerates to avoid crushing me into the steel behind me, I latch onto him with my mind, tethering his feet to the ground. Hera, before I can even finish shouting her name, she's sprung into action, dashing for Ida. He tries to boost out, but my psychic hold keeps him firm as Uraraka manages to land a finger on his shoulder. Seeing my opportunity, I release the latch and send him flying into the air. Tie him up, quickly. Again she moves before my instruction is even complete. At least she knows what she's doing. Tenya begins writhing as the tape is wrapped around him. Normally someone being held up like this could move a little bit, like an arm or their mouth. It's a little too much to focus on keeping everything perfectly still, especially if they're physically strong. But like this, with zero gravity, easy as breathing. Seems I made a good choice in befriending this girl. She could prove useful. Tenya continues shaking as the tape is almost wound around him. No, I am a master of evil. I will not be brought down by you petty heroes. Suddenly, the rumbling of Ida's engines fills our ears. I barely have time to duck before his leg goes spinning past my face. Damn it, I didn't want to put too much pressure on with zero gravity. His engine must have made enough force to break free of my hold. Ida goes spinning in wild circles in the air as his engines keep pulling his legs along. I try to hold him still, but he's spinning too fast. Screw it. I use his momentum to slam him against the nearest wall, pinning him there with my psychic energy. I hear the metal creaking as Tenya yells in pain. Oh, too hard, Akatani, please. Uraraka hesitates but quickly finishes wrapping Ida's legs. A call comes through the intercom. Ida has been captured and is out for the round. All Might bellows. Young Akatani, please let him go now. I begrudgingly lower him to the ground. Sorry, I say. You made me panic after that surprise attack. Ada seems a bit bruised but still smiles at me as he sighs. It's okay, no harm done. Good luck getting past Bakugo though, you're gonna need it. Right, we're on the clock here. Uraraka, let's go. Quickly, she looks over to Ada, concerned, before nodding and running after me. When we find the room Bakugo's in, I'll go in first to distract him. Then you sneak around and grab the bomb, okay? Right, she calls out behind me. That battle against Ida took longer than I anticipated. I've lost track of how much time has passed. We should be fine. 15 minutes is a while, but still, I've made enough mistakes by being careless today. Bakugo's room was 2 floors up, we discovered. I remember it from the building layout. This one has 2 doors, so Uraraka is heading around to the other one, so all I need to do is keep his attention away from the other door. And if worst comes to worst, I can always just take him down myself. I may do that anyway, just for fun. I'm so curious to see the look on his face. The steel door grinds open and inside, there he is. The room is brightly lit, with 2 large windows on a large, brick wall. A tall, red rocket sits on the floor in between me and it. Kaken, he seems oddly calm. Normally he gets so riled up in fights. I heard you took care of glasses. Good, now I get to destroy both of you myself. He shouts, his hands flaring with small explosions. So confident. You know I beat you in the entrance exam and the quirk test, right? He sneers, still as prideful as ever. I see. It doesn't matter, I'm not scared of you. I know you're just a distraction for that girl to come in and steal the bomb. He's stalling. That's so unlike him, but I have to admit, rather clever. We must be low on time then. You should be more concerned with me. You and I both know I could squish you in a second. Unless you hope someone is gonna come save you. Who is that boy you mistook me for? Izuku. Was that his name? Rage bursts in Bakugo's eyes. How touching. Don't you dare say his name, he says, his fists trembling and his eyes burning with anger. No, did I touch a nerve? Do you think this Izuku is going to come save you from me? The rage boils over in his eyes. Before I can even see anything, I can feel the air in the room shift. Great balls of fire erupt from Bakugo's fists as he propels himself towards me. Don't you dare mention him, he yells, his hands now pushed forward, preparing a blast at me. Nope. With a flick of my hand, I send a wave of psychic energy straight at him, pinning his body into the wall with a crack. Now. This is Hero School Bakugo, you need to play nice, I say, a twisted grin rushing to my face before I can stop it. I can see the wall cracking behind him as dust and pebbles fall to the floor. Perhaps I'm putting too much pressure on, but damn it, he deserves it. Bakugo lays his palms flat against the wall, and trying to push against my grip, sets his hands alight, causing large explosions to form behind him, but my grip is too tight. He only succeeds in breaking off a few of the bricks behind him. Nice try, but you're just breaking the wall. Unless you wanted to go for a 3-story drop. Your choice, I say smugly. This feels so good. I can see now why Kakin bullied me so often. Forcing your power on others. It's incredible. I extend my arm, keeping the full weight of my psychic force on him. I watch with glee as his body starts writhing, his right arm trying to force its way in front of him. Are you trying to blast me from there? That's cute. I know his max range. I made sure to stay outside it so he couldn't pull something like that. But still, something's off. As he continues pushing his arm out in front of him, a look of determination enters his eye. It's only then I notice his hand. He's holding a rock. It's all I can think before there's a bright flash and the large, shattered brick Bakugo had broken earlier is blasted out of his hands toward me. Crack. The stone rams into my shoulder at high speeds. I hear the distinct sound of bone snapping as I'm forced to the ground. Bakugo wastes no time in flying over to me, his arms outstretched and lighting up in bright heat. Bastard. My left shoulder is dislocated. It's basically useless now. Not that I need it. I vaguely hear All Might's loud voice shouting something over the intercom, but my brain doesn't register it. I'm just too damn mad. Using my right arm, I halt Bakugo in midair. Then before he can blast me, I start levitating and slam him into the bloody ground where I was just lying. I see the ground crack underneath him as I push my full power onto his bruised body. Come on, Bakugo. Say something mean. Before he can speak, I push him even further into the ground, his bones and the stone floor creaking with my power. Akatani, I hear Uraraka shout, but I ignore her. I'm only focused on one thing now. Where's your confidence now, Bakugo? Where's your stupid ego now? Crash. The floor shatters underneath him as I crush him even further against the ground. Say something, Bakugo. Say how useless I am. He's not moving. I don't care. Say something. Where's all that blister now? Say something. Yonga Kata and I. My focus drops, and I see a wave of rocks come tumbling down from around me. As All Might rushes past me, the very airstream he creates just by moving pushes me off balance and my psychic energy ceases. I'm aware of voices, but not much else as my vision slowly goes dark. The wait was tense. We had all been watching the fight go down. I was impressed by everyone when they fought Ida. But things were different with Akatani and Bakugo. All Might had left minutes ago to break up the fight and the cameras were shut off. Frozen on the screen was the image of Akatani. His eyes glowing, rocks and debris floating in the air around him, and Bakugo, unmoving, through a hole in the floor beneath him. We knew Akatani was powerful, but this was just scary. Whispers were breaking out between all the students, the main point of debate. What were they saying to each other? Despite the cameras, we had no sound. Whatever they had been screaming at each other, it got them both really riled up. It's hard not to feel lacking, seeing power like that. Came the deep voice of Takoyami. Over the last day and a half we had reached a silent friendship of sorts. We didn't talk much, but we got along well regardless. This was the first thing he had said since All Might left. Yeah, Bakugo and Tenya are both very powerful in their own right, but they seem completely nullified by it. His face is thoughtful, but he shakes his head. No, it may seem that way, but they both were able to fight back in some way, even if they were both defeated in the end. His quirk is strong, but not impenetrable. That's quite insightful. It's the kind of thing I'll need to pick up on if I want to succeed in this class. Slam. The doors to the room swing open as All Might strides in, Uraraka and Tenya following behind him. Sorry about that, folks. We had to take young Bakugo and Akatani to Recovery Girl. They really gave it their all. But you'll be happy to know that both are okay and should fully recover by the end of the day. A wave of relief washes over the class. Thank goodness they're all right. Tenya looks fine as well, though a little disappointed. Uraraka, she looks mortified. The look on her face quickly vanishes, though, as All Might's energetic voice brings everyone back to reality. Now, Tima was able to retrieve the bomb, so they are the winners of the first round. Ada and Bakugo planned well and fought bravely, but even so, they made some crucial mistakes. Can anyone tell me what they were? Momo's hand rises up in a second. Yes, Yaoyorozu. She steps forward, clearing her mouth before speaking. Sir, while they made the correct choice in who should leave the bomb to run interference and who should guard it, their crucial mistake was splitting up to begin with. Akatani's quirk is especially good at locking down a single person. No matter how powerful their quirk is, however, he would struggle to maintain his concentration against multiple opponents, especially two as mobile as Ada and Bakugo. Well, Takoyami and I were only guessing at what Akatani's weakness might be. She figured it out after seeing them in action for only a few minutes. I'm glad she's on my team. Furthermore, she continues, while Uraraka's quirk worked very well with Akatani's, it is not a good counter for either of her opponents. As such, if they were able to capture Akatani early, Uraraka likely would have struggled to fight back. Ada is nodding thoughtfully to all of this. As Momo finishes, he quickly bows. Your insight is appreciated. Thank you. Momo quickly steps back into the crowd of students, allowing All Might to continue. You are correct, Yaoyorozu. Very perceptive. Team B fought smart, but their plan only took their own strengths into account, not their opponents. He turns to Uraraka. However, despite their victory, Team A also made some mistakes of their own. Momo raises her hand again, but All Might continues. Despite how powerful his quirk is, young Akatani was quick to panic when put under pressure. This led to him being too fixated on the opponent he was fighting. Had another opponent entered the fight, he would have been too slow to react to them. Additionally, he used too much force for this exercise. Obviously, in the field, you may need to use excessive force on an enemy, but this is training against your fellow students. Please keep that in mind. However, while Bakugo and Akatani's injuries are unfortunate, I think it demonstrates well why these exercises are so important. When you're a hero, you will be put under far greater pressure than this. Many lives will be at stake, including your own. It is important that you learn how to work under stress and how to keep a level head. We've all seen today how dangerous panic can be for you and your opponent. A wave of silence washes over the class. I don't think any of us will be looking to repeat what just happened. Now, with that said, let's get started with round 2. We don't have all day. A chorus of excited shouts echo from the class. Despite what's happened, people are still pumped to be here. Next up, Team B versus Team I. The next match ended even faster than the first. Todoroki's ice froze the whole building. There was nothing the other two could do. It was hard not to feel bad for them. Seems some quirks are just overwhelming in their strength. Takoyami was next. He was paired with the frog girl Asui against Kirishima and Shiro. Takoyami's opponents took Momo's advice to heart. Both of them focused on Takoyami right out of the gate. Kirishima taking the full power of Takoyami's dark shadow quirk and Shiro taping him up while he was distracted. It would have been a good plan, but Tsuyu and Takoyami had prepared for it. While Takoyami was distracting them, Tsuyu was able to jump behind them and retrieve the bomb. It was quite impressive. Then we were up. Yaorazu and I were the villains, pitted against Jiro and Kaminari. They were an interesting pair, but definitely not one to underestimate. We passed Takoyami as we were heading inside the building. "Good luck," was all he said as we passed. "Thanks, well done on your match," was all I could think to reply. I hadn't had many friends in the past. I hope I'm doing a good job of being one. We had 5 minutes to prepare before the heroes were allowed inside. For 2 of those 5 minutes, Momo didn't say a word, simply muttering and making small marks on the floor with chalk. She had clearly demonstrated that she was the smarter of the two of us. I was happy to let her plan while I prepared myself for the fight. Finally, she turned away from her markings. I could not decipher most of them. She then started walking towards one of the 2 doors and started summoning iron barriers out of thin air. Scratch that, out of her stomach. "I have a plan. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it if that's all right," she said, continuing to forge the iron barriers until they completely blocked the door. "Yes, of course. Okay, so there are only 2 entrances to this room. With my creation quirk, I can completely block off one of them, forcing them to come through this entrance, which means we can set a trap. Since the door is only single file, we would likely only trap one of them though. Who do you think we should trap?" "Jiro. She's less reckless than Kaminari and her sound quirk is harder for me and I imagine you to counter given that a pair of earplugs won't be strong enough. If we can capture her, Kaminari will hopefully get flustered and make a mistake we can take advantage of. Even if he doesn't, it should be much easier to capture him if it's 2 against 1. Divide and conquer. Simple, but it works." She finishes forming the barriers and turns back to me. I stay quiet, unsure if she has more to say. "So what do you think?" I'm surprised. She seems to genuinely be interested in what I have to say. She does know she's a lot smarter than me, right? Still, something is bothering me. How would you make sure she's the one falling for the trap? Ah yes, of course. I forgot to mention. Down the hall outside this room I plan to make a replica of the bomb. Jiro will probably be relying on her hearing and won't pay much attention to what she sees. But if Kaminari sees the bomb unguarded, I'm betting he'll go after it without thinking, leaving Jiro the only person who could fall for the trap. It could work. She's relying a lot on their personalities after only knowing them for 2 days, but I've seen no reason to doubt her yet. Still though, I have some thoughts. I think we should try to trap Kaminari instead. She looks surprised and puzzled, like her brain is already playing out the new scenario in her head. Not to say your plan wouldn't work. I agree Jiro is probably the bigger problem for us, but I think we'll have an easier time trapping Kaminari and dealing with Jiro after. She stays quiet, allowing me to explain, so I continue. You said yourself, Kaminari is the more reckless. He'd be more likely to rush ahead, I think. Whereas Jiro would be more likely to suspect a trap. Am I right? She nods. Additionally, Kaminari didn't use his power all that much in the quirk test, which tells me that he doesn't have much control over it, especially with an electricity quirk. He'd probably not want to just discharge if Jiro was around in case he hurt her. But if Jiro was out of the picture, there'd be nothing to stop him from just frying both of us. I can heal quick, but an electric charge could still fry my brain or paralyze me for too long. Momo nods, waiting for me to finish before speaking her mind. I hadn't considered that. Good points. I think I can make some adjustments to the plan with that in mind. She smiles, standing up to begin creating our trap. I like your costume, by the way, she says. Oh, thanks. I feel it's a little basic after seeing everyone else's. I figured my quirk would probably be most useful for stealth or infiltration, at least until I'd learned how to heal others. So it was a pretty basic combat suit that was painted with dark camouflage. There were armored bits around key areas like my chest, knees, shoulders, and fists, either to increase my offensive options, since I only really have my hands, or to try and avoid the injuries that are the most painful to heal. The only flashy thing on my suit, which I didn't even request, was on the arms. When my body glowed green from my quirk, the symbols for healer would appear on both of my arms. Flashy costumes aren't everything, she says. I think it's smart to prioritize function over aesthetic. It was all I could do not to bring up her costume. As socially inept as I may be, even I knew that her revealing costume was probably not a good topic to broach. I decided to just say thanks and keep my eyes on the wall until the round started. I place my finger onto my earpiece and am once again stunned by the usefulness of Momo's quirk. They're approaching, be ready. Her reply came back quickly. Acknowledged, preparing the trap. We knew Jiru could likely hear us. In fact, we were counting on it. The more on edge she was, the better. Hopefully Kaminari wasn't so cautious. I'm listening closely for movement, but it sounds like I didn't need to be so alert. Kaminari's voice echoes down the chamber, occasionally interrupted by sharp, shushing sounds from Jiru. Sounds like he's overconfident. Good, that's what we want. As they turn into the corridor, I get a short glimpse of the two. Jiru is on edge, her head on a constant swivel. In stark contrast, Kaminari is relaxed, his arms behind his head in a resting position as he gazes up at the ceiling. Now's my chance. I quickly dart around the corner, hurling the glass cylinder towards the sound of Jiru's footsteps. The sound of shattering glass and the smell of hot glue tells me I hit my mark, as Jiru's shoes and the speakers she keeps there are completely covered in the thick goop. Almost tripping over the rapidly hardening liquid, she calls out, "They're here, Kaminari. I'm trapped." "Huh," is all he says, casually looking over to her. In the second he takes to react, I dart forward, throwing my fist at his face. Whack! My armored knuckles collide with his jaw, sending him reeling. "Oh, WWWH!" he cries out, the hands covering his jaw suddenly sparking with electrical energy as a huge grin lights his face. "If that's how you want to play, then fine," he shouts as he charges towards me. Bright bolts of lightning sparking up and down his arms. He makes several wild swings at me, but I'm able to dodge. For once grateful for my father's training, seems even my muscle memory regenerates. I continue dodging his wild swings, letting his frustration build. I move my gaze over for a second to make sure Jiru hasn't broken free. Zam! A zapping fist rams into my stomach, sending a jolt of pain through my entire body. Haha, now that's payback, Kaminari shouts. I can't underestimate him. I'll just have to have faith that Momo's glue will hold and continue with the plan. I keep my focus on Kaminari, continuing to dodge away from his strikes, before seeing an opening. As he throws his hand back for a big haymaker, I slam my foot into his chest, knocking him back. Then I start running back to the bomb room. "Hey, oh, where you going? Running away so soon?" he calls out, as I hear his footsteps charging after me. "Good. Just wait, Kaminari, I'm almost free," Jiru shouts, but it falls on deaf ears. "Relax, I've got him on the ropes. Just watch me." As he runs after me, I turn the corner, charging for the doorway to the bomb room. I rush in, carefully avoiding the trap on the floor as I nod to Momo. She stands just behind the door, a long rope in her hands. I stay just beyond the doorway, where Kaminari can see me. He's continuing to taunt me, but I stand my ground, waiting. As he charges into the room, his eyes fixed on me, he fails to notice the large, insulated tarp on the ground. What he does notice is my shouting to Momo from behind the door. Now, Momo pulls the rope down and just as quickly, the tarp springs from the ground around Kaminari. As soon as it does, I charge in, tackling him to the ground. Momo quickly rushes over and together we're able to completely wrap him in the tarp and surround it in capture tape. Suddenly, the hum of the intercom comes alive. Young Kaminari has been captured and is out of the match. Our victory is short-lived however as Jiru quickly rounds the corner, her shoes freed of the glue from earlier and her ear jacks already plugged in. Momo and I stand up, my fists raised, and a long, metal staff in Momo's hands. Jiru is powerful, but in a 2-on-1 we should be able to come out on top. It's then I notice the state Momo's in. Sweat is pouring off her forehead and her breathing is ragged. Just standing up is causing her to shake. Wait, has she used too much of her quirk? Seeing the ragged state Momo is in, Jiru makes a split-second decision and sends a burst of sound my way. Boo-bum, boo-bum. My body is thrown against the far wall. I try to push back but the sound waves continue to crush me. A sharp ringing suddenly sounds in my ears and I feel a trickle of blood pouring down both sides of my face. Whack! The sound has stopped, though I still feel the vibrations violently shaking my body. Looking up I can see Yaoyorozu desperately fighting off Jiru. Despite her exhaustion, in spite of how much she's already given, she's still giving her all. I'm letting the team down. No more. I rush forward, the hearing in my ears slowly coming back to me as my eardrums fuse whole again. Jiru sees me charging, shifts her foot towards me again. Boo-bum, boo-bum. Another wave of sound so loud I can feel it. With every beat of Jiru's heart, a new sound wave rocks the building and sends invisible nails into my eardrums. I feel my body being pushed backwards, but I resist, slamming my fist into the gaps in the stone floor. Blood spills everywhere, and the armor on my knuckle is dented, but I'm able to find a handhold. It's enough to hold on. But I'm not going to just hold on. Momo is wildly swinging now, her breathing reduced to sharp, gasping breaths. I can't rely on her to save me again. It takes every fiber of muscle I have, but I slowly pull myself forward, the sound waves pushing back the very skin on my face. But still, I press on. Jiru seems overwhelmed now, trying to force me back while avoiding Momo. Seeing the sound waves no longer affecting me, she decides to shift her feet over and make a break for the bomb. That's all I need. In the split second her sound waves cease, I dive forward, stretching out my arm. If I can just grab her leg, trip her, anything to stop her. My body collides with the ground, my arm outstretched to grab her, and my hand swipes air. Jiru jumps out of my reach, dashing for the bomb. I missed. Damn it, how did I miss? EWONG. Oh, what the hell? The sound of Jiru's body falling to the ground catches my attention. Swaying over her is Yaoyorozu, her metal staff still in her hand. Jiru is on the ground, clutching her shins and shouting. That really hurt, you know. I apologize, Momo says, but we must do everything we can to win. Wasting no time, I quickly get up and grab the capture tape. Jiru resists, but between the two of us we manage to properly restrain her as the intercom hums to life a second time. Kyoka Gyro has been captured, which means Team C is the winner. Shaking, Momo stands tall. As I look over to her, her entire body shaking, she smiles brightly. We did it, she says. Jiru and I barely manage to catch her as she falls unconscious to the ground. You did it, more like. I think to myself, I'm giving my all, but it still doesn't seem like enough. Hey, comes a muffled cry from the insulated tarp. We're done now, right? Let me out. Well done, everyone, boomed All Might to the assembled class. You all did a good job for your first proper day of training. I'm excited to see you all grow over the coming years. There's a lot of excited chatter around, but I can't help but feel guilty. We'd heard from Recovery Girl that everyone was okay, but still, if Momo had a real partner in that exam, she may not have needed to recover at all. Well then, I better check on the students in the medbay, get changed and return to the classroom. He yells, dashing madly down the school pathway, leaves swirling in the wind behind him. He has quite the presence, especially in person. Takoyami, I ask, unaware the bird-like student was anywhere near me. I was watching your battle. You acquit yourself well. I almost laugh. I appreciate that, but you don't need to lie to make me feel better. I underperformed and Yaoyorozu had to pick up the slack. It's as simple as that. Takoyami pauses for a moment, his gaze not shifting from me. That's not what I saw. Thank you, but I really didn't do much. It was Momo's plan and she's the reason it was executed so well. You could have swapped me with anyone and the plan still would have worked. If a bird could raise an eyebrow, that's what Takoyami would be doing. I disagree. Not many people could take a fully volted punch from Kaminari, or a full sound blast from Jiru. Yaoyorozu was willing to exhaust her body to make sure you had all the equipment you needed. To me, that demonstrates a lot of trust in your ability to see things through. Despite my doubts, his words do cut through ever so slightly. I still definitely didn't work as hard as her or as smart. He shakes his head. It is foolish to compare your progress to others. We all move and grow at different rates. So long as you've improved on your last effort, then you have nothing to worry about. Dang, this guy's got some wisdom on him. I don't know how, but he's simultaneously made me feel like a much better hero, but a much worse friend. Thank you, but we should get back to class. He nods. Oh, and please have more internal crises so I can pay you back for all these pep talks. Takoyami stops to stare at me blankly. I am eternally having a crisis at all times. I would have laughed if it wasn't so scarily relatable. Nazu slides a steaming cup of tea across the table to me, gesturing for me to drink. The hot water is painful on my mouth, but very few things aren't these days. The principal simply watches me from the opposite couch, gazing intently at me, as if into my soul. It is a special power for a cat-sized being to make me feel so small. So, he finally says, breaking the silence, you've had a chance to see the first years in action. What do you think? Well, what do I think? I was so focused on teaching that I forgot to be on the lookout for a successor. I hope that's a good thing. Well, I won't meet the students of Class B until tomorrow, but so far the kids show incredible promise. There's a lot of power and natural talent in that class, especially for first years. Nezu nods, silently drinking his tea, his china cup clinking lightly on his tiny plate once he's done. Any standouts or future successors you have your eye on? His questions are very pointed, as usual. I know from what some teachers have told me that Nezu personally invited one of the students to the school. I think he's made it a personal challenge to find me the best suitor possible. His face shows no ulterior motives, just that faint, welcoming smile. He wants to know if I agree with who he's chosen. It's too early to say. I don't know any of them very well yet, of course, but they all have interesting quirks. I can imagine some of them would work very well when paired with One for All. Wouldn't you agree? Absolutely. Both Todoroki and Akutami have very powerful quirks that would help balance out One for All's shortcomings. Then you also have Sato and Kirishima. One for All would make their strengths even stronger. Then you have Yaoyorozu, Jiru, or Takoyami. Their original quirks would be enhanced by One for All's stockpiling ability. It'd be very interesting to see how their quirks evolve from that. What of Midoriya? His regeneration mixed with One for All would make him near invulnerable. Plus, if he masters his healing capabilities, the symbol of peace could be an unbeatable warrior who heals and protects. That is a powerful image, but I'm unsure, especially Midoriya. There are times where it seems like he doesn't even want to be a hero. Sir, with all due respect, I feel like there's a point you're trying to make that I'm not understanding. Nezu places his teacup onto the table, his face never veering from that faint smile. I only wonder if you're overthinking this, Tashinori. I understand. Finding a worthy inheritor is very important. But you've been hesitant ever since Gran Torino's death. You need to find a successor soon, and there are plenty of smart choices here at this school. Smart? Do you disagree with my analysis? No, not at all, sir. It's just what? My mind is filled with thoughts of her. I wonder what she would say. What was so special about me that she was willing to trust me with One for All? One of many times I find myself wishing for her guidance. My predecessor and I never really spoke about what I should look for in a successor. She didn't really have time to teach me that, save for one thing. And what was that? He says, sipping on his tea with a larger smile creeping onto his face. The choice for successor should not be made with your brain. Not by finding the best quirk or the strongest person. The choice should be made with the heart, by what a person believes or fights for. That is One for All's true strength. Nezu finishes his sip, silently contemplating my words. So you need to understand these kids better. Really know who they are. Hard to do at this age. I imagine most of them are struggling to find out who they are as it is. It's not an easy time to be sure, but I can't think of where else to go. I do need to find someone soon. I don't have much longer and I can't afford to be passing off to someone out of desperation in my final moments. Knock knock. Nezu and I both perk up, hearing someone knocking on the door to our meeting room. I'll get it, Nezu says as I move against the wall, hoping to not be seen. The principal walks over, having to climb on a nearby stool in order to reach the handle. The door swings open, light pouring into the room. Ah, hello Midoriya. I trust everything is well. The voice of young Ryoto speaks back. Oh, yes sir, sorry to interrupt. I was told you and All Might were here. I was hoping I could have a quick word with you both. I'm sorry Ryoto. All Might is very busy at the moment, Nezu begins, trying to cover for me. Almost without thinking, my body surges with burning energy, rapidly growing into my massive, muscular form. Nonsense, I call out. I always have time for a student of mine. If you're happy to interrupt our meeting, sir, I ask, coming into full view of the doorway. Nezu turns to me looking pleased with my response. Of course, come on in Midoriya. He looks unsure before stepping in and saying, if you don't mind, sir, I'd prefer to be called Ryoto. Yes, of course, Ryoto. Nezu replies. Now, what's on your mind? The kid looks nervous. Something must really be bothering him. He keeps looking at the ground before looking up at me. I wanted to thank you, All Might. I never really had the chance. Thank me for what, young man? He seems taken aback by my response. I hope I'm not forgetting something. A little over 5 years ago now, you saved me from my father's compound. He was toxic samurai. Wait, so he was one of those kids. And his father was. So he would have been there. I remember now. Young man, there is no need to thank me. I am sorry I was not there to save you sooner. You have no idea how happy it makes me to see where you've got to now after what was done to you. It shows true resolve. Again, he seems shocked by my response. You don't need to be sorry, All Might. I was able to have a life because of you. I'm learning to be a hero now because of you. I seriously can't thank you enough. This is one of the best parts of my job. Believe me, Ryoto, I could not be gladder. I say, leaning down and placing my hand on his shoulder, to see that my actions have allowed you to become who you are today. It's a feeling like no other. This at least gets him to smile, before his face returns to that nervous expression. He then turns to Nezu. I wanted to thank you as well, sir, for this opportunity you've granted me. I am trying my best to be worthy of it. Nezu simply nods. I know you are Ryoto. So long as you keep trying your best, you'll be an amazing hero one day. Well, that's just it, he says. Now it's Nezu and I's turn to be surprised as Ryoto continues speaking. Everyone else in the class is trying so hard, going beyond their limits and pushing themselves to the fullest. They're working so hard to become heroes and I'm just not. I'm trying. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just not at the same level as everyone else. Ryoto is shaking. I want to stop him, tell him everything is okay, but he clearly needs to get this out. Everyone else, being a hero has always been their dream. They're giving everything they have to make it. Whereas I'm not even sure I should be a hero. I just don't want it like they do. All the responsibility, all the power. I don't think it's something I should have. He's shaking out of fear, not just for himself. I see now. This kid has seen exactly what bad people do with power. He's scared of becoming that himself. Young Ryoto. His head snaps to me, his body still trembling. You are not like the villains who so badly mistreated you. Having power is not what makes you bad. The fact that you are so worried about abusing your own power proves your strength of heart. No, you are not fighting as hard as your fellow students because, frankly, you do not want what they want. They are fighting to be heroes because of fame, money, or because they want to do good in this world. If you're going to be a hero, you need to find what you are fighting for. What do you fight for? All Might, he says. Geez, pointed questions. I'm not very good at this, but this kid clearly needs help. This is what being the symbol of peace means. I can't just go around and punch villains. I need to give them hope too. I fight for people. I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. I fight so that everyone may live peaceful and happy lives. I fight so that people like you can live their lives without fear. You, young man, and people like you are my reason, my purpose. The boy looks down, staring at the floor, before he gently whispers, I'm not like you, All Might. I don't think I could save people like you. I burst into laughter. Ha. Young man, you already have. Do you remember one of the other children I saved with you, the little girl? I think her name was Akari, he says without hesitation. Yes, Akari. You saved her in the courtroom after the bombing. She would not have been alive today if not for you. You were able to save her when I wasn't there to do so. Yeah, but I wasn't thinking. I just jumped. Because you, unlike your classmates, have seen the face of evil. You could see it for what it was, no matter where you were. Instead of running or jumping to cover to save yourself, you jumped in front of that little girl and to this day have not forgotten her name. You may only be a hero in training, young man, but to that girl and to me, you've been a hero for years. The boy stands straight, his trembling slowing down. I feel all he needs is one final push. So tell me, young Ryoto, why do you want to be a hero? What will you fight for? He pauses, before turning back to me. I'm going to fight for those who can't fight for themselves. Like you, I'm going to be a hero so that no one has to experience what she did. Yes, well done, young man. The faintest trace of a smile lights his face. He's still a little emotionally exhausted, but it looks like I really got through to him. Thank you, sir. I feel much better. I'm going to give this class everything I've got. I'm glad to hear it. He turns back to face Nezu, who has been oddly silent. A large smile stuck on his face. Thank you again, sir. I won't waste this opportunity you've given me. I'm glad to hear it as well, Ryoto, he says, looking up at the clock. My goodness, it's getting late. Ryoto worriedly looks up at the clock, bowing deeply. Apologies, sirs. I'll let you return to your meeting, he says, quickly rushing to the door and shutting it behind him. Well, that was sudden, Nezu says. I get the sense that he's not the most comfortable in social situations. Well, he was also a bit shaken up. I'm just glad we were able to help him, I reply, smoke pooling off my rapidly shrinking body. Nezu smirks. You helped him? I barely said a word. That was some fine teaching back there. It was hardly teaching. I couldn't bear him to not see his own potential. The kid dived in front of a little girl when he was only 10 years old, for crying out loud. At that age I was still scared of the dark. Nezu chuckles. Well, either way, it seems he brought out the best of you in the moment. Do you see now why I recommended him? I do, but that doesn't mean I'm choosing him as a successor. Nezu shrugs. He who does not desire power is most fit to hold it. God, what is your obsession with this? Have you placed bets on who I'm going to pick? He laughs. I'm just trying to help Toshinori. I'm sure in the end, you'll make the right choice. I sigh. I can't deny that the kid is a smart choice, quirk-wise. His heart also seems to be in the right place, but I'm still not sure. My gut tells me that now's not the time to choose. I feel I should wait. I just hope I can afford to. Decent work on yesterday's combat training, you guys, Aizawa says, stepping into the classroom. I saw the video feeds and went over each of your team's results. Bakugo, you're talented, so don't sulk about your loss, okay? Yeah, whatever, Bakugo replies. Great, like he needed his ego stroked. And Akutani, Aizawa continues, his sharp gaze shifting over to me as if in response to my thoughts. You have a powerful quirk and a good grasp of its abilities, but you need to be able to control your emotions. You were needlessly brutal to Bakugo, and because of your arrogance both he and Ida were able to hit you with your guard down. Focus on being more calm in combat. What a fool. My quirk was handpicked by my master to be unbeatable. I was in complete control the whole damn time. But, nevertheless I plaster a smile on my face. Of course, sir, I'll try harder next time. The words taste like bile in my mouth, but it's all a part of the plan. I'm just sad I won't be there when this sad excuse for a hero is killed by the League. Any day now. Ryoto. Aizawa continues, Ryoto's head snapping to attention. You did well. You still need to prove to me that you've earned your place in this class, but your effort yesterday was a good first step. Clearly Aizawa's eyes have gone too dull after all these years. Ryoto barely passed and gets praised. Meanwhile I completely dominated my fight single-handedly and got chastised. Aizawa goes around the room, giving each student feedback on their performance. When he's finally done, the room is silent, quietly thinking on what they did wrong. Right, let's get down to business. Our first task this morning will decide your future. The tension in the room is palpable and I hear whispers from the other students, fearful of another quirk test. I hope it is. Another chance for me to put everyone here in their place. You all need to pick a class representative. Aizawa says bluntly. A wave of relief washes over the class, before everyone begins shouting over each other, asking to be chosen. Even Kaken is getting excited. I feel a pang of disappointment at it not being quirk-related, but this might be even better. My power and presence will naturally put me in the running. Then, if I get elected, my reveal as a villain will be all the more earth-shattering. As I go to speak, Ida stands up, beckoning everyone in the room to be silent. The class representative's duty is to lead others. The class you are leading must respect and trust you. Therefore, the most logical way to fill the position is by voting. It's the red-haired kid, Kirishima I believe, who speaks up next. Is that really the best idea? We've only known each other for a few days. How do we know who we can trust? Besides, everyone will just vote for themselves, right? I take this as my moment to speak up. Then we set a rule that no one can vote for themselves. That way people who have made the best impressions and earned people's trust already will be selected. God, this is tedious. I agree, Tenya says. It's the best way, right sir? Ida asks, Aizawa already slipping into his sleeping bag. Do what you want, just decide before my nap's over. We went back and forth a bit more, but eventually we all agreed on our voting system. I do lose a vote. Not being able to vote for myself, but since no one else will vote for themselves either, it'll even itself out. But who to vote for? Kaken and Ryoto are both bottomless pits where charm and likability go to die. Voting for them ensures that I don't accidentally prop up a potential competitor. That said, I could vote for Ida. I don't see him getting many votes, but it means in future I can use it to build his trust in me. I write Ida's name on my page before placing it into the ballot. After a few moments, everyone else has decided and the ballots are counted up. With shock, I watch one by one as more and more votes go to people other than myself. How? Bakugo got a vote. What is this? Silently seething with rage. The tally ends with Ida at 3 votes and Yaoyorozu at 2. Some students got a single vote, a lot got none. Somehow, I was one of them. Through gritted teeth I smile and clap as Ida is given the role of class rep. Did you vote for Ida as well, Akatani? Achako's voice rings in my ear as our class begins packing up to head to the field for our next lesson. I smile fakely. I did, yes, glad to see our votes didn't go to waste. I chime in cheerfully. So Uraraka was his second vote, meaning if one other person liked his idea for a popular vote, I should have seen that coming. I'm just surprised we didn't get any votes, I say cheerfully, trying to glean some information from her. She smiles brightly. Well, neither of us really spoke up about wanting them. Besides, I think our brutal win yesterday may have put a bad taste in people's mouth. She scratches the back of her head, laughing lightly. Of course, this is a hero school. Pure power isn't enough for these people. Well, I meekly smile back. Hopefully we can make a better impression next time. So, I say, the murmur of voices in the dank, shadowy bar going silent. We'll be attacking tomorrow. Hirajiri is in the process of stacking glasses into a cabinet as he speaks up. That is correct. Thanks to your information we were able to get the schedule off of All Might's computer. He along with the teacher's Eraserhead and 13 will be at an off-site facility training with her class. It's the best chance we have for at least a month. Shigaraki's scratchy voice chimes in. I see. What's your plan, master? I say, looking towards the eternally dark TV screen. Actually, Midoriya. The commanding voice returns. I want you to tell me what your plan would be. I'm interested to see if your strategic prowess has improved. As he speaks, a blueprint of the off-site facility is handed to me, no doubt also stolen from the teacher's computer. I wonder what else they found on it. I spend a few minutes committing the design to memory and thinking through our options. There is one clear answer. We should split everyone up with Kurogiri's warp ability. Silence. It seems All for One is implying I should delve deeper. The 3 teachers are the main priority. We have the Namu for All Might, so he's accounted for. If he seems overwhelmed, then Eraserhead is the more combat-focused of the other 2 teachers and will most likely jump in. His quirk is good in single combat. But if you can outnumber him, especially with mutant quirks he can't erase, he should be no problem to overpower. Very good, Izuku. Continue. 13's quirk is dangerous, but she is hesitant to use it on people. Kurogiri could likely turn her quirk back on her if needed as well. That only leaves the students. With how many terrains and isolated areas the USJ has, we can put them in places that will hinder their quirks, making it easier to take them out. Correct. All for One states, you know your classmates' quirks best. Where do you believe we should send them? I stopped to ponder a moment. There aren't enough areas to get them all alone. We'll have to choose the locations we send them carefully. They may only be students, but some are very powerful and could quickly turn the tide against us. Namu can defeat All Might in a fair fight, but would struggle against some of the students' quirks. Well, first I should be taken away from the fight entirely, as you've ordained, Master. I say, silently gritting my teeth. If you send me back to the main campus, I can keep an eye on the teachers and let you know if and when any of them head to the USJ. I take the utter silence as clearance to continue. Ryoto should be sent here, since you believe he is such an asset. Then we get a bit more specific. Takoyami, Asui, Todoroki, and Hagakure should be sent to the fire zone. I believe Takoyami's quirk is weak to light, and this is the brightest zone. Tsui with her frog abilities can cover a lot of distance, but not if everywhere she tries to get to is on fire. Todoroki's ice will be far less effective in an area with constant fires, and his flames will be next to useless. Hagakure could be hard to track. However, if Todoroki believes she is around but can't be sure of where she is at all times, he'll be less likely to use any large-scale attacks. Yaoyorozu, Koda, Kaminari, and Bakugo should be sent to the storm zone. Yaoyorozu uses the lipids in her body to create anything she wants. In the freezing storms, her body will be forced to use those lipids to keep her warm. It'll also limit the items she can make to non-metals if the storm's lightning function is activated. Koda has a sound-based quirk, which a storm will interfere with. Additionally, the storm zone is sealed. There'll be no animals he can contact in there. Kaminari's electricity is too dangerous in an area drenched in water. Using it will put his friends in as much danger as anyone else. Bakugo's quirk is powerful, but he needs to sweat for it to work. Being drenched in cold water should minimize the amount of sweat he is able to create. Ada, Kirishima, and Ashido should be sent to the flood zone. Ada's speed will be useless in water, especially once his engines get clogged. Ashido's acid will only be diluted, and Kirishima can't use his quirk without sinking like a brick. Jiru and Aoyama should be sent to the ruins zone. Jiru's quirk can be quite destructive. Its use will be very limited if she's standing in a crumbling building. Aoyama's quirk is long-ranged. Keeping him in tight, cramped quarters will reduce his range and effectiveness severely. The rest can be divided up between the mountain and landslide zones. Their quirks are either not hindered by any other terrain or are just not combat-focused. Overwhelming them with numbers should be more than enough. It's funny, these kinds of ramblings used to make people annoyed or weirded out by me, but Master only sees it as a benefit to my strategizing. Hopefully with this plan I can be out of that school sooner rather than later. The TV crackles before All for One's voice finally returns. Very good, Izuku. I think we shall take your advice on your classmates. I feel pride surge within me. Shigaraki smiles supportingly. Now, go get some rest. Master continues. All of you, we have a very busy day tomorrow. We all shuffle off to our respective rooms. I'm still upset that I won't be there to see All Might fall, but I can take solace in knowing that my plan is helping them to succeed. Hook, cross, hook, uppercut, jab, overhand, backstep, back kick. I slam my fists into the punching bag over and over, reciting the moves my father taught me so many years ago. They are ingrained in my memory at this point. Being stuck in a cell for all that time means you don't have much else to do but memorize everything. Why do you want to be a hero? What will you fight for? I thought fighting was the problem to some extent. I was worried that if I fought with all the skills a villain had taught me, that I'd be just as bad as him. But All Might opened my eyes. Fighting itself isn't necessarily bad, so long as I'm fighting for something. But still, clearly being a hero isn't just fighting bad guys. All Might is able to do that and help me through my problems as well. A good hero isn't just a bodyguard, they're a teacher as well. A role model, like Takoyami and Yaoyorozu. I want to be more like them. Damn it. The silent voice speaks. Across the gym is another classmate. The half-ice, half-fire guy. Todoroki his name is. I think, like me, he comes here every day after classes are over, staying until the gym's close at 5 p.m. He keeps trying to freeze over one of the human-sized dummies, but it seems to be frustrating him. An unmoving dummy probably isn't the best target to practice on with a quirk like that. Hey, I call out. his head snapping over to me in an instant. Are you okay? He seems slightly exasperated, probably so focused on his training that he didn't see me come in. Yes, I'm fine, he says quietly, turning back to his half-frozen target. Some students do come here to train, but most leave after an hour or so, which normally just leaves me and Todoroki here for an hour until we're forced to leave. I think he's just trying to avoid going home. Like me, maybe I should ask him to train with me. He does seem lonely. Besides, all this weight and fight training is stuff I can do at home. It's training against strong quirks that I need, and his is one of the strongest. I walk over as he coldly repeats his movements over and over. Freeze, then unfreeze. Freeze, then unfreeze. Todoroki, right, I say as I approach. He stops, but does not turn to face me this time. What do you want? He replies. Cold. It's very fitting. You look like you're having trouble. I don't need your help if that's why you're here. Whoa, okay. I don't really know what to say here. What would All Might do? Actually, I was wondering if you'd like to train together. That way you'd have a target that actually moves to practice on. Now he turns to me, his eyebrows raised above his deadpan face. You want me to freeze you? Well, no, not when you put it like that. I'm happy for you to try and freeze me while I try to dodge your attacks. He still looks confused. Oh right, my quirk is regeneration, so you don't need to worry about injuring me. I'll just heal back. Oh, is all he says. If his voice weren't so serious, I would swear he sounded relieved. So, what do you say? I ask. He seems to ponder for a while, before quietly answering. Very well, but be careful. I nod, rushing back a few paces to make some distance between us. For the next hour we fought. Despite his cold exterior, Todoroki is actually pretty careful. When we started, he only sent out small attacks, allowing me the chance to get used to dodging his ice. Once he was sure I'd be fine, he started hitting me with bigger and bigger blasts. Nothing that would engulf the room, but enough that my dodging had to get wilder and wilder. Whenever he did freeze me, he would immediately jump over to free me. This was good. I got some good practice in fighting against powerful quirks. I got some punching practice by breaking ice, and if I'm not mistaken, Todoroki seems to be a lot less frustrated with me than the dummy. By the end, I had taken enough damage that I needed a break and moved over to rest against the wall. Instead of returning to his solo training like I expected, he surprisingly sat down next to me. He's probably worried about my injuries. What a softie. Thank you, he said at a reasonable volume for once. I rarely get to practice on a moving target. I'm sorry about your frostbite. I looked towards my toes that had been frozen over. Already warm, green light was emanating from them. Don't stress, I'll be fine in a few minutes. Besides, I should thank you. This kind of training was what I was really lacking. Good, then we've both gotten something from it. It makes me happy, though a little selfishly, that I was able to help him. Well, hey, I'm here after school every day. Do you want to try the same thing with your fire tomorrow? He looks down at his hand, his face growing pensive, if only slightly. I'll just stick with my ice for now. Right, I wasn't even thinking. He had to get that scar from somewhere, and I know better than to pry. Fair enough. We sit in silence for a few moments. My toes feel like they're being dipped in hot lava as the green energy surges through them. Without the conversation to focus on, the pain rushes to the forefront of my mind, and I can't help but let out a small grunt of pain. Are you all right? Todoroki asks me, his face showing the faintest traces of concern. I plaster a smile on my face. Yeah, it just hurts a lot to be healed so fast. But it's okay, I've had worse. He looks down at his hands again, seemingly pondering something before softly speaking again. So, who did you vote for class representative? The sheer suddenness of the topic change makes me almost snort with laughter. I thought I was the most socially awkward in our class, but he's giving me a run for my money. I actually voted for Yaoyorozu. I don't know her very well, but she seems very intelligent. Plus, in our team up for the battle trial, her planning and strength of will was the only reason we ended up winning. To me, she seemed best fit for the job. Who'd you vote for? He looks at me quizzically. I also voted for Yaoyorozu, for much the same reasons. Great minds, as they say. I return with a small chuckle. I wonder who voted for us, though. Todoroki seems pleased by my response, but his demeanor quickly devolves. He seems pensive, even more so than usual. Do you think? Todoroki suddenly stops as the door to the gym swings open. Orange light from the setting sun shrouding the tall figure in front of it in darkness. It's 5 p.m., time to go home. Comes the empty voice of Aizawa. Without a word between us, we both stand up and grab our belongings, shuffling out of the gym with Aizawa's eyes fixed on us the whole time. Make sure you rest well tonight, Aizawa says as we walk away. Tomorrow will be entirely practical exercises. No theory. We will, thank you, sir, I respond, Aizawa merely nodding before walking back to the main building. If we're doing practical exercises tomorrow, I should try to bulk up as much as I can tonight. It's amazing. By overloading my muscles and rapidly healing, I was able to gain nearly 2 kgs of muscle in a single night. As we pass through the school gates, there's a large, black limousine, clearly intended for someone very wealthy. I almost asked Todoroki who he thinks it's for before he starts making a beeline for it. Makes sense. Hey, I call out, seeing him stop and look back to me. See you tomorrow, Todoroki. He nods. Farewell, Ryoto. I hope your foot gets better, is all he says as he opens the limo door. Finally, comes a belligerent voice from inside. Master Shoto, your father has been wait. The voice is completely cut off as the limo door closes. In all the time we had been talking and walking together, I had honestly forgotten that my foot was injured. It feels completely healed now. Clearly he hadn't forgotten. He really is a big softy. The next day moved quickly. As soon as class had started, we had gotten changed into our hero costumes and were on a bus to an off-site training facility. The outside of the building was a massive dome, but as we entered, the sight was incredible. An enormous indoor space separated into different terrains and disaster areas. How much did all this cost? Walking up the stairs towards us is a person. It kinda looks like a floating pair of eyes in a large space suit. Hello everyone, I've been waiting for you. The space suit says, I'm 13 and this is my training facility. There's a lot of whispered amazement as the rest of the class steps forward to view the vista in front of them. This facility was designed to train you to deal with all kinds of disasters. I call it the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, but you can call it USJ. They continue. The teachers begin talking away from us. Aizawa seems annoyed by something, but Akatani is the one who catches my eye. He's looking around quickly. He seems nervous. Where's All Might? He mutters under his breath. Is All Might supposed to be here? I respond, his eyes flicking to me as if just having noticed I was there. Oh, I'm not sure. He admits sheepishly. Aizawa just said there were supposed to be 3 teachers, so I kinda assumed it'd be All Might. Aizawa did say that. Maybe the extra teacher is in place already, waiting for us to rescue them. Akatani seems calmed by that statement. You're right, that's probably it. I go to respond, but strangely, the whole class has gone silent. Stay together and don't move, Aizawa shouts, turning back to the class. They're all peering down at the USJ courtyard, some with looks of confusion, others of shock. As I look down, a large black mist has appeared in the center of the courtyard. Pouring out of it are dozens of people, all dressed in very strange ways. My gazing is cut short as Aizawa's capture scarf rushes in front of my face, pushing me back beyond the ledge. 13. Protect the students, Aizawa says, dashing down the stairs towards the strange-looking people. The students move forward again, confused as to what's going as Aizawa shouts, Stay back. This is real. Those are villains. Panic and shock erupts from the rest of the class. Students questioning 13. Others question why the alarm isn't going off, and some even gearing up for a fight. Every student falls into one of those categories. All except Akatani and I. I'm not worried. I've seen villains before. They're all weak and cowardly at heart. In the middle of the best hero school in the country. We'll be fine. But Akatani looks different. I can't quite read his expression, but I'd say he looks almost sad. I turn back as the class falls silent once again. Mr. Aizawa has reached the bottom of the stairs and is currently fighting the villains. I'm sure he's a capable hero, but there are a lot of them. Even if he's holding his ground now, shouldn't we be helping him? There is no escape for you, a deep resonating voice says from behind us. My attention being drawn again, I turn back to look behind us, only to see the same dark mist from earlier take form behind us. Seems like it's a person with a portal quirk. It's a pleasure to meet you. We are the League of Villains, the mist says. I know it's impolite, but we decided to invite ourselves into this haven of justice to say hello. And besides, isn't this a fitting place for All Might to take his final breath? They're here to kill All Might. I believe he was supposed to be here today, and yet I see no sign of him, the mist says. But that's what Akatani said as well. Was he supposed to be here? If he was, he surely would have shown up by now. In the end, I suppose it doesn't matter. I still have a job to do, the mist says, swelling to a great size. Boom crack. In the blink of an eye, Kirishima and Bakugo jump towards the figure, slamming into it with powerful attacks. Did you think we were just gonna stand around while you monologue, asshole? Bakugo says. He jumped straight into action. It's hard to say he wouldn't make a strong hero. The mist only chuckles before speaking again. You live up to your school's reputation, but you should be more careful, children. You two, get out of the way now. 13 shouts, their finger outstretched towards the mist. I'll scatter you across this facility to meet my comrades, and your deaths. Suddenly the mist surges forward towards us. In the blink of an eye, everything is gone, my only sight being the vast, dark mist surrounding me. I hear the shouts of my classmates being quickly cut off as silence surrounds me. He's warping me somewhere. A light enters my vision, but before I can get a bearing on my surroundings, whack slam crack. A dozen hits on my face in the blink of an eye. I fall to the ground, my vision blurring. If not for my healing, I'd probably be unconscious. After a minute of healing, my senses return to normal. I'm bound to a small chair in a dimly lit room. It appears to be a bar of some sort. A dim light bulb and a Statusy TV are the only light sources available. Standing in the room are two figures. The first is a gruff-looking man, smoking a cigar. The other is a woman with long, blue hair dressed in a dark purple ninja's outfit. Only her eyes are visible, though her body is loaded with knives, swords, and other blades all over. Both look expectantly at me, but I don't speak, partly because I don't want to give them the satisfaction, but mostly because I don't want them to hear the nerves in my voice. This is bad, really bad, and I am way out of my depth. Suddenly, the woman breaks the silence, speaking to seemingly no one in particular. "Boss, the healing kit is here." A crackling sound echoes through the radio before a deep, commanding voice comes through. "Welcome, Ryoto Midoriya. I apologize for the rough introductions. Our lovely assassin in training here can get a bit rough with her prey. She must have a speed quirk or something to have hit me that fast. If I'm going to try and break out of here, I need to be careful of her. You know who I am," I say, already forgetting the silence I was trying to keep. "Indeed. We've met before, though you wouldn't remember. You were quite young at the time. Probably knew my father, being a villain." "Figures. You must have been friends with my father then." A small chuckle. "Quite so. He was one of my most loyal followers back in the day." As he talks, I twist my hands against the restraints. If I dislocate my hand, I could probably slip out. If it's a clean break, then it shouldn't take too long to heal. Then I can untie myself. Seeing my testing the restraints, the gruff man steps over to me, his fingernails extending into long, sharp claws. "Don't try it. My claws can cut through bone. I'd like to see you heal when you're dead. Now, Slicer." The TV cuts in. "Ryoto here is our guest. Though I suppose we should explain the stakes to you." "What stakes?" I ask. "Your father was a great asset to me. One of his greatest contributions was quirk research, including yours. I should be surprised that I was just a research experiment to my old man. But honestly, I'm not. Either way, not like it matters now. We know the full extent of your quirk, including its limits. Either one of these fine soldiers could kill you beyond the point of regeneration." The nerves I was feeling have started turning into dread. I had always assumed there'd be a limit to my healing, but I guess I had never come to terms with the fact that I could still be killed. It's a scary thought, especially after an outright death threat. "Why am I here?" I ask, sweat now beginning to build on my brow. "You have great potential, Midoriya. You were your father's finest work, and I'd hate to see it go to waste. I can show you your true potential." "Great. He sees me as a test subject too. How flattering. I'll have to think about it. Can you give me a few days? I'll get back to you." A snort from the ninja woman. I'm glad someone finds this funny. I'm just amazed my voice hasn't cracked yet. "Come now, Ryoto. I'm doing this as a favor to your father. He's been dying to see you." That stops me cold. My father died at his court trial. I was there. The gruff man smiles as he lights another cigar. The ninja lady is looking at me very intently. "Oh, Ryoto, that is simply what we wanted the world to think. You've seen that we have access to warp quirks. You know that his body was never found, marked as completely incinerated. What do you think that means?" I can barely contain myself. I tear against the restraints, trying to jump up. "Liar. He's dead. I felt those flames myself. He got what he deserved." A sharp pain flares against my forehead. A single sharp claw from the one they call Slicer, just breaking the skin on my head. A warning. It takes all the restraint I have not to keep thrashing, but I calm myself, at least on the outside. But he wasn't convicted. I force out. They were about to set him free. "Why would you go out of your way to do all that? And if I'm so valuable to you, why didn't you take me?" He was found not guilty, yes, but he was on a watch list. Heroes and police were always tracking him. I needed him to move freely, so we faked his death. We did plan to take you with us, but the fire had unexpectedly killed you. Frankly, we weren't aware you had survived until recently. That doesn't seem right. They're not telling me something. Before I can think further on what that might be, the TV continues. "Now, enough questions. I have told you my intent. Now I offer you a choice. Will you join us and reunite with your father? Or will you die here, forgotten?" I feel sick, my mind flashing with images of my own death. Alone, in this dark, derelict bar. No one even knows where I am. It'd be stupid not to say yes, even if just to buy me more time to escape. But, my father, I can't face him again. I won't face him again. Tell my father to go fuck himself. If it means screwing him over one last time, then I'm ready to die here, I say, with as much courage as I can muster. It isn't much. There's a short moment of complete silence in the room as the two figures just stare at me with shocked expression. "Jesus Christ, bro," the woman says. "Is it hard walking around with balls that big?" Is she seriously making a joke? "Now, a pity," the TV says. "Breakneck, head to the factory. Tell Samurai the bad news." "Yes, sir," she says, giving a lazy salute. "Slicer, immobilize the boy for retrieval, then head to the school to join the attack." Yeah, I'm on it." With that, the TV screen snaps off, going completely dark. The ninja lady, who I now know as Breakneck, clicks a button built into the wall. A small speaker is installed above it. Kurogiri, boss wants me at the factory. Can you give me a lift? A moment passes before the dark mist appears in front of her. She goes to step forward before turning back to me. Sorry about this kid. You should have said yes to his offer. Don't say anything else though, you had some metal last words. With that, she steps through the portal, which quickly disappears behind her. What the hell is her problem? Still, I have a method out. That speaker goes right to the portal guy. Kurogiri, if I can trick him. My thoughts are cut short by the shrieking sound of metal on metal. The slicer guy is sharpening his finger claws on each other. She's too soft for her job. She's not wrong though, you should have said yes, he says calmly, walking over to me. He crouches down, eye level with my seated position. I fidget with the restraints, but he doesn't seem to care anymore, raising his claws to my forehead. You're gonna be stuck in a test tube for the rest of your short life. It's not gonna be pretty. He smiles, taking delight in the fear he must think I'm feeling. But strangely, a wave of calmness has overtaken me. I smile back at him. Crack. The sound of my wrist dislodging quickly turns his smug smile to surprise. He rapidly peers down to look at where my restrained arm should be, colliding right with my elbow that was charging for his face. Fuck. His muffled voice comes, his body tumbling to the ground as his now bloodied hands clutch his nose. I need to move quickly. My other arm and both my legs each have a restraint on them. I have a few seconds until I've healed enough to move my fingers. I should get my other arm free first. Slicer rapidly gets up, his broken nose spewing blood, his claws outstretched and a look of sheer fury focused on me. You little CNT. He spits, stomping towards me. I raise my hand to defend myself, but it's no use. His right claws impale my hand. I scream in pain as he twists my hand away from my body with them. His second hand pierces lightly against my head. Now, I'm gonna enjoy this, is all he says. Nothing. I don't feel anything. I know the claws have sliced right into my brain. I can see the blood rushing down on them, but I don't feel it. I'm kind of grateful for it. The room seems to spin. I feel like I'm gonna be sick, but at the same time, it feels like my body is miles away. This is probably where my life would have flashed before my eyes, if I had lived one. That's the last thought I have before I lose my sight. Then, slowly, everything leaves me. Kurogiri's familiar black mist surrounds me. He's done well, they all have, even though All Might isn't there. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise though. I take the time to go through my idea as the black mist fades from my view. I'm in a secluded spot behind the teacher's lounge. It's normally soundproof, but telekinesis is great for opening windows the tiniest bit. I pause for a moment to listen. Present Mike and Cementos are inside, chatting about test results. No alarm has gone off, so I just wait. Now, All Might not being at the USJ. It does seem like a problem at first, but when you think about it, it gives us more of a chance to level the field. All Might is the fastest teacher by a mile. Once an alarm is raised, he will arrive well before the rest of the teachers. It does mean our time is limited. However, it means they have all the time in the world to eliminate the students and teachers who are there already. They can prepare hostages and have complete freedom to set up an ambush. Yes, I just need to confirm that All Might is at the school. With this in mind, I spent the next few minutes paying close attention. After a few minutes, I hear exactly what I need. Hey Mike, don't you have English with class 1 in a few minutes? Cementos asks. Nah, Mike replies. Aizawa and All Might took them up to USJ. They're training with 13 all day. Really? But All Might is still here. I saw him in the lounge only 30 minutes ago. Weird. I did hear he stopped a lot of thugs today. Maybe he's at his limit. That's all I need. He is here. Not only that, it sounds like he may have pushed himself too far. Before I met All For One, I'd never have imagined All Might even getting tired, but he revealed the truth to me. He nearly killed All Might and the wounds he suffered still cling to him today. Little by little, his power has diminished. If we can fight him when he's used up everything he has, our victory is basically guaranteed. Kurogiri, I whisper into my earpiece. Yes, Midoriya, he replies, the sound of nearby fighting coming through the call. I have confirmed that All Might is still at the school. More than that, he's apparently at his limit. Are you saying we should retreat? Not at all. Subdue the heroes there. Then when you've prepared an ambush, give me a call. I'll alert the teachers and they'll all head over. All Might should arrive first, so you'll have a few moments to kill him before the others arrive. He pauses, quickly contemplating my words. If you think it best, Izuku. However, you should know that I was not able to separate all the students. That's fine, the heroes are the top priority. Besides, they're only kids, they won't be too much trouble. Very well, I will inform the others and call you when we're ready. If they do end up being too strong, I can come back and destroy them. No, I'm sorry Midoriya, but All For One's orders were very clear. I will bring you back after we've escaped. Fine. With that, I click the earpiece off and wait. I hate being sidelined like this. But if this is what Master wants, I suppose I can live with it. I owe him that at least. So much time had passed. I had almost fallen asleep. But there was something. It caught my attention, a familiar noise, like an engine rumbling. Ada, how the hell did he get out? No sooner did I think that than the roaring engine halted outside the office doors. I hear the door slam open and Ada's gasping breath. Help, there's an attack at the USJ. Mike is the first to respond. Wait, what? Ada, slow down. No, he shouts back. You must hurry, they're killing Aizawa and 13. The students are in danger, please. Without further prompting, I hear the sound of the school intercom and Mike's voice shouting. We have a code black at the USJ. All available teachers head to the buses for urgent transport. The school is in lockdown until further notice. Damn it, how did this happen? I need to call the others. The sound of static is all that greets me. This is bad. Kurogiri's transmitter shouldn't have been jammable. It must have broke. I don't think I can get back to warn them in time. Thank you, sirs, Ada shouts. But I must get back to my comrades. No, Cementos replies. It's too dangerous. You'll return with us. But sirs, they need urgent help. I can get there before anyone else. Boom, a thunderous sound from the other side of campus. Not to worry, Cementos replies. Sounds like All Might is on his way already. At his top speed he'll be there in under a minute. All Might, that's good, Ada says, his exhaustion catching up with him. Don't rest yet though, Mike says. We need you to find Principal Nezu. Give him a lift to the transport buses. We'll meet you there. On it, Ada replies in a fraction of a second, speeding off barely before he can finish the sentence. Shortly behind him, I hear the two teachers leave the room. If I can't contact Kurogiri, I'll need to stay here. Otherwise he won't know where to pick me up from. All this waiting is gonna kill me. After a few agonizing minutes, I was surrounded by Kurogiri's familiar shade and found myself in a thicket outside the USJ. Hey, over here, an unfamiliar voice calls. A police officer stands in front of me, getting my bearings in this new place. I can hear a few sirens and a lot of voices around. We've found another student, he says. Are you all right, son? Another student. So they weren't able to eliminate them all. I need information. Are they gone? Those villains, I mean. I was terrified. I lied. I can't tell you too much, he says, leading me out of the thicket. But you don't need to worry about the villains anymore. Thanks to your teachers, we've been able to apprehend nearly all of them. Damn, I want to ask which villains escaped, but that may be too suspicious. What would a normal student ask? Can you tell me about my classmates? Are they all right? Ask them yourself, he says, as we arrive at the front entrance to the building. A horde of policemen are going in and out of the building, ferrying the thugs we had hired into armored transports. Good thing we made sure none of them knew who I was. Akutani, your raucous, cheerful voice cries out. Are you okay? We had no idea where you went. Yes, Ada chimes in. We were very worried. You look unharmed. I plaster on a fake smile. No way they'd be this cheerful if All Might was killed. We failed then. Yes, I'm okay. I was warped into the forest around here and got lost. I didn't even see any villains. Lucky them. I'm sure you would have turned the tides if you were with us, Achako says with a smile. I vaguely listen to the other two as they speak about their experiences. Based on their descriptions, Kurogiri and Shigaraki were able to escape, thank God. Unfortunately, the Nama was captured. And while they had suffered severe injuries, all the teachers were expected to make near full recoveries. 4, 5, 6. As they speak, I make a mental note of the students outside, counting them in my head. 9, 10, 11. Surely we took out at least one. Were those thugs really so bad? 13, 14, 15. Bakugo's still alive. Because of course he is. 17, 18, 19 students. Where is Ryoto? I ask. Blurry, dim light, the taste of blood, muffled shouting, the smell of rotting wood. These are the first thing my brain picks up on. Where am I? What am I doing here? I know who I am. I just can't place it, anything. I suddenly feel a painful snap as my wrist is forced back into place. Right, I was at the USJ. The villains took me. I was captured. I tried to escape. I thought I died. The villain, the one with claws, where is he? The room looks empty to me. I need to free myself now. He didn't restrain my arm again. Weird. No time to dwell on it. I quickly unbuckle the restraints on my other limbs. But as soon as I stand up, whoa, the whole room feels like it's shaking. My legs feel weak. How long was I out? I hear footsteps, ever so faint from another room. They're getting closer. There's only one door, so he's probably coming from there. Thinking quickly, I grab a nearby glass bottle and take position to the side of the door, like Momo did when we trapped Kaminari. It seems like months ago now. After a moment of tense waiting, the door opens and Slicer walks in, his broken nose now cleaned of blood. I almost feel bad as I slam the glass bottle down on his head. Smash. MOTHERFU. His shouting is cut short by a sharp fist to his jaw. I start pummeling into him with everything I got. I can't give him time to get his claws out. Shick. Too late. His claws dig into my chest with a burning pain. Standing up, he uses his emappled claws to push me back towards the bar, arching my back and pinning me to the wooden bench. You got up quicker than you should. he grunts. I frantically flail around, feeling for anything I could use to reach him. At this rate I'll have to chop your whole damn head off, he says, raising his other clawed hand to strike me. Smash! Another glass shattered on his head sends him to the ground, his claws slowly sliding out of my chest. The room goes dead silent for a moment, the adrenaline slowly wearing off. Holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. I see his chest slowly rise and fall. Oh, thank God, he's alive. Now what? I should give my body a chance to rest. I'm already pretty tired from healing back from death. No, I must be mistaken. Either way, this is probably the enemy base. The longer I wait, the more likely another villain is gonna find me. I walk over to the communicator I saw breakneck use. That warp guy isn't just gonna take me to the school if I ask him. I'll need to trick him. Slicer was meant to go to the school after this. Maybe I could try impersonating him. I try to match his gruff, smoker's voice and immediately start cracking up. I am so grateful that the only person who could have heard that is unconscious. So that's out of the question. I could just be honest. Say that I broke out. Then he'd need to send a thug from the school to get me. I could charge through the portal. But what if they just portal them through a different room? Damn, this is tough. I need to make him panic. Have him send a villain straight to me. I need to make this hardened criminal, this villain, scared of me. Who could scare a villain? All Might. Bakugo probably. Akatani is also the scariest person I've spoken to. Aizawa as well. Some mesh of them would probably just be a little creepy. But it's the best I got. I click on the communicator, hearing the statusy buzz come to life. The one thing all those people have in common is confidence. I have to sound confident. Here I go. I breathe in and, hey, you're that warp guy, right? Send me some more goons to fight. These ones were too weak. Nothing. I can't let him think. I need him panicking. What can I say? Fine, I'll just have to tell the heroes about your factory then. I'm sure your boss would love that. Please. A few blood-chilling seconds pass before the dark fog appears right over the body of Slicer. I can't afford to wait. The second I see a body stepping through, I charge, tackling them to the ground of what I hope is the USJ. I feel weightless for a second, my full weight driving this thug's body into an endless void. I feel dizzy, before suddenly we collide with a thud. My mind reels for a second, the collision coming as a surprise to my brain. The thug under me, a young man dressed in a dark coat, seems similarly surprised. I give him no time to recover as I slam my fist into his face, his head bouncing off the stone floor. He's out cold. I'm aware of movement all around me. I need to examine my surroundings fast. What can I see? The domed roof of the USJ. Many hostile-looking figures around me. The shadowy mist has warped back to the top of the stairs. I'm at the bottom, in the courtyard. What should mean? Ryoto. Aizawa calls out, dodging and weaving between multiple thugs like an intricate dance. What are you doing here? A thug immediately jumps on me. I step back, trying to avoid being surrounded. I got warped here. I managed to trick the portal guy into bringing me back. He does seem a bit overwhelmed. 13 and the students are trying to get it a pass so he can raise an alarm. Go and join them, now. The thug fighting me goes for a wild swing. I duck, grabbing a large rock as I swing low to the ground. As he loses balance, I step to the side and, crack, slam the rock over his head, sending him reeling to the floor. With all due respect, sir, you can't fight all these people alone and I'm the only one who can't get seriously hurt. I'm staying here. Bang, a sharp pain in my side. I roll just in time to avoid 3 more darts from hitting me. The thugs are leading me with their attacks, trying to surround me on all sides. I can't let them. As their teacher, I'm ordering you to get out of here. It's too dangerous, he says breathlessly. It may be a bit arrogant of me to think so, but if I hadn't distracted some of these goons, I don't know if he would still be up. You can expel me if you want, sir. I'm not leaving. Duck, kick, sidestep, jab. The cycles and patterns repeat in my head. He was a terrible father, but he made sure I was a good fighter. Father, in all this chaos I hadn't truly come to terms with it. He might be Aleph. Wham! A rock-hard fist slams into my stomach, sending me reeling backwards. Now's not the time. Think later. Focus on taking these guys out. Capture that kid, alive. A scratchy voice calls out. The hero is mine. As the voice finishes, the last of the thugs still standing start charging towards me. Behind them, I see a man covered in gray hands dashing at Aizawa. It's okay, they can't kill me. It's okay, they can't kill me. Whack. As one recklessly charges in, I smash the rock right on his face, his body tumbling to the ground. Just hold off until Aizawa finishes that guy. As the last half a dozen thugs cautiously halt and circle me, I decide to play things defensively. I don't strike unless I know it's safe. I focus on dodging and weaving just like Aizawa. Don't let them surround me, don't take risks. As I'm dodging, Aizawa appears out of nowhere and slams 2 of the villains into each other. Just 4 left, at least in the immediate area. I think I can afford some risks. I go to charge one of the villains, but my momentum is halted as a great force moves at incredible speeds behind them, the wind pressure hurling them to the ground and slamming me against a nearby wall. Crash. I feel sharp rocks jabbing into my back. My ears are ringing. Thank God for adrenaline. I'd be in so much pain without it. As my body recovers from the impact, my ears, still ringing, pick up the vague sound of shouting. The rumble of Ada's engines sound as I hear the shouting continue. Ada, please, get out, let the other teachers know. Then we'll be okay. This hopeful thought fills my mind for all of 2 seconds as I hear the sound of bones snapping. My eyes refocus and before me I see Aizawa, pinned under a great bird-like creature, his arm hanging limply by his side. That thing is enormous. How did I not see it before? And was the great force I felt just that thing moving? Holy crap, this is bad. Aizawa and I were barely holding our own against the basic thugs. Against something this powerful, unless Aizawa can erase its quirk, we don't stand a chance. Slam. The creature slams Aizawa's head into the pavement. I can see blood oozing from his crushed face. Any hope I had of his quirk being erased evaporated in my mind at that moment. Urgh. I force my body to peel itself off of the stone wall, the hot, green energy lighting up the various wounds on my body like a traffic light. I take a swaying step forward, my knees buckling and shaking with just my body weight. Come on, move. I have to do something. That shockwave damaged me more than I thought. Tamura Shigaraki, the mistman says, his darkness emerging from thin air by the man covered in hands. Hirajiri, the villain replies, is 13 dead? Please, no. 13 is incapacitated, but there are some students I couldn't warp away. One of them escaped. Does that mean Ida got out? The pros are on their way. We just have to hold out. The hand-covered villain, Shigaraki, seems to panic, maniacally scratching at his neck. Meanwhile, my confidence grows, even as Aizawa remains pinned by that creature. We just have to hold out. Hey, I shout as loudly as I can, causing Shigaraki to stop scratching. You're done for now, you hear. Run away to your bar. I left some surprises for you. Why the fuck did I say that? Apparently surviving death has given me confidence. Too much confidence. Before that, Shigaraki says coldly, let's leave some dead kids around. In the blink of an eye, he's upon me, his arm outstretched towards my face, to wound the pride of the symbol of peace. He says, I move my arms up to block him but he's too fast. His fingers are upon me. My mind is running wild. What is his quirk? What can I do? Is it too late? His fingers clasp my face. Nothing happens. You really are pretty cool. Eraserhead. I look back just in time to see Aizawa's glowing eyes in our direction. We make eye contact for a split second before the creature slams his face into the concrete again. I shove Shigaraki off of me, using the precious seconds my teacher bought me with what might possibly have been his life. As Shigaraki stumbles back, I step forward, loading my fist with as much force as I can manage. You won't win, I scream, trying desperately to hype myself up. Namu, Shigaraki responds with calm, quiet. Wham! A blinding force sends my punch careening away, as if my fist were loaded with springs. What just happened? So eager, Shigaraki says, his voice muffled by the giant creature standing between us. You would have regenerated from my decay. Probably. Looming over me is the massive bird-like creature, his blank face jeering at me from above. Real fear begins to leach into my heart. Namu, knock the kid unconscious. We'll be taking him. With a jaw unhinged in a wicked smile, the creature lifts its fist up high, the very shadow of it swallowing me whole. It seems to slow as it hurtles toward me, but I know this sensation now. My mind is slowing everything down. Now I can see death clearly. Crush. I feel myself being forced into the floor, my feeble bones snapping under the force of its punch. I feel blood being crushed out of me like juice from an orange. I feel my ribs stabbing into my lungs, air rushing out like a popped balloon. Despite all this, my body keeps healing. The pain of the injury being mimicked by the pain of my body desperately trying to force itself back together. I'm aware of shouting in the distance. It's unclear until my ears seem to reconnect with my brain. Namu, Shigaraki says, finish off Eraserhead. We'll be having company soon. The lumbering footsteps of the Namu send vibrations through the ground, shaking my crumpled body. No, I have to do something. The sounds of Aizawa's crackling body fill my ears and I'm forced to action. My crumpled legs have barely snapped back together, the snapped bones loosely grinding against each other. I force myself to stand, rapidly binding my cracked arms and legs in place. It's weak, but it's enough. I manage to stand, seeing the enormous, rippling back of the Namu. I try to shout, but wheezing gasps are all I can manage, until my rib is forcefully popped out of my lung and air slowly returns. I take a deep breath, feeling the hole in my lung quickly sealing up and shout, "Get away from him." Shigaraki turns. The Namu stops. Aizawa's piercing eyes stare at me with a mix of fury and fear. Run to the others, he shouts. Get away from them. His cries fall on deaf ears. The Namu is stock still, like it's stuck between the last two commands it was given. Shigaraki pauses for a moment, then waves the Namu off, speaking quickly. Knock the kid out, but don't kill him. Without hesitating, the Namu charges back to me. I try to dodge, but my legs refuse to move and I'm met with another giant fist slamming me to the ground. Wham! It's not as strong this time. Knowing the creature is holding back, I summon every ounce of healing energy I can. I'm still standing, my arms braced against its fist. Before I can think, slam, it hits me again, but my legs are locked, my fused bones refusing to budge. I scream as it raises its fist again, summoning as much energy as I can. Wham! The creature's punch collides with intense force, my arms barely managing to block it. It keeps its arm there, pouring its immense weight onto me, my back bending in response. I summon every ounce of will I have. Resist, please. Frack. My back pops, my legs buckle, but I stand firm, my body glowing with an intense light. I can't move, but my body is okay. I don't know how, but my entire body is filled to the brim with healing energy. My body is healing as fast as the creature can damage me. As my arms and legs are battered, I stand strong, willing my joints, my muscles, and my bone to fuse shut, to not budge. Crack. Ryoto. Aizawa calls weakly. Get away, now. My entire body is focused on standing strong. It takes all my willpower to let my mouth open as my arms and back are pummeled over and over. Nezu's words come flooding back to me. It takes a special kind of person to jump in front of another at the sign of danger. I can't. I scream, my voice shaking with each blow. So tell me, young Ryoto, why do you want to be a hero? What will you fight for? Besides, I continue, risking every bone in my neck to meet Aizawa's gaze. I can't leave you here. Frack. I will be a hero. We're both going to make it, sir. We'll live. Just you see. Frack. I force all the air out of my lungs, screaming as my body is being crushed in on itself. Frack. The memory of that courtroom all those months ago comes back. I glowed so brightly, I healed faster than the fire could burn me. Please, I need that now. Wham! I use every last bit of strength I have to lift my body up until I'm standing straight. Just like you. All might. That's what heroes do. I scream. Namu, Shigaraki says. Crash. In the blink of an eye, I'm on the ground again. My bones and body once again, broken. Even at my strongest, I only survived because this thing held back. We just need to hold out. Please. All might. The ringing once again threatens to overtake my ears. I begin to hear things I know aren't there. Voices, sounds. But one shouts clearer than the rest. Bam! A booming voice, an inspiring call. Fear not. I swear All Might shouts. I am here. It can't be real. Just the hopeful dreams of a dying brain. At least, that's what I thought. Until a great force rushes by. Even stronger than the Namu. I feel my broken body being lifted and moved at a great speed. My bones fighting against the wind to reattach themselves. I open my bleary eyes and see them. 2 gold locks of hair, like horns atop his head. Oh, Might. I mutter weakly. His face seems to shine as he smiles down at me. You fought bravely, young man. Let me take it from here. I feel a sudden jolt as we land, and the sound of other students exclaiming. Everyone, to the entrance. All Might says, passing off Aizawa and me to them. Take these 2, they're unconscious, so hurry. Right. I hear Kirishima exclaim as he grabs my body. I see Ashido and an invisible force grab hold of Aizawa. Man, Kirishima sighs, gripping me tightly as he carries me up the stairs. You took one hell of a beating, you're a tough one. Too strong. I wheeze, my body shooting with pain as we climb each step. We have to warn him. Take it easy, man. It's All Might, he'll be fine. We need to get you out of here. I look down at the courtyard. Great clouds of dust obscure my vision, but I can clearly see All Might's body, split between 2 portals. Namu's giant fingers digging into his body. He's bleeding. No, I shout, my lung finally healed. He's being overwhelmed. Kirishima looks back, stopping as he sees the same thing. Oh crap, how did they do that? I stand shakily as he lets go of me. It doesn't matter. Until the heroes arrive, we're the only help he can get. Right, but are you sure you can do this? That thing destroyed you too easily last time. My body goes numb, remembering the pain of those punches. The false confidence when I stood up to it. How quickly that was shattered when it stopped holding back. Then we don't threaten that thing. Leave it to All Might. Let's take out his support. Kirishima nods. All right then. I've got the hands guy, he says, rushing down. I pause, giving my body a desperate few seconds to heal what it can. Then I start running. I can't hurt the portal guy, but it seems like he still wants to warp me somewhere. Aizawa said I tricked him earlier because he was so overwhelmed, right? Maybe I can try something similar. I just have to be careful not to run into his portals. Kurogiri. I shout, those misty, yellow eyes peering over at me. What's your boss gonna say when he finds out you let me go? The eyes glower at me. All the warning I need that a portal is coming my way. Whoosh, on schedule, dark mist appears in front of me. I dodge backwards. Whoosh, right into another portal. Crap. I got too damn overconfident. I feel the familiar cool mist on my back as I'm pushed by my own force into the warp gate. I'm such an idiot. Boom. Get the hell out of here, zombie man. Back you go. In an instant, the cold mist behind me fades and I find myself stumbling onto my back. As I look up, Bakugo is standing over Kurogiri, his hands alight in a threatening pose. "You're not all that, you misty mook," he says. Before he even finishes speaking, plumes of ice begin to cover half of Namu's body. "So you people are here to kill All Might," Todoroki says, cold as the ice he commands. "Scum like you could never kill the symbol of peace." Todoroki, Bakugo, Gah, Hiroshima yells, just barely avoiding Shigaraki with his stone-like hands. Almost had him. Thanks to the ice, All Might had already climbed his way out of the portal. Now it was All Might and 3 of our strongest classmates staring down the villain. With the others here, I think I can sit this one out. I fall onto my back, the adrenaline being the sole thing keeping me awake. The others are talking, but I can't conjure the energy to listen. I've definitely overused my quirk. I'll probably sleep for hours. "Get back, everyone." All Might's voice cuts through the haze of exhaustion. My eyes shoot open, my flight or fight response kicking into overdrive. Bakugo has grabbed me now, preparing to lift me away from the fight. Get this idiot out of here. He better not be dead when we're... Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, Namu has gone from being half frozen to charging towards us at blinding speeds. Bakugo still has Kurogiri trapped under his right hand. I'm being pulled by his left. The Namu is going to free Kurogiri, which means he's going after Bakugo. Without even thinking, my legs spring to action, raising me up and pushing Bakugo to the side. This is so stupid. I guess I'm really testing the limits of my quirk today, and the limits of my stomach. Boom. The Namu's enormous fist collides with my body. I feel like my entire body is being split in half. There's a split second where nothing happens. Then, whoosh, my body is sent flying into the air. The courtyard of the USJ seems to rapidly shrink before. Crash. My back collides with something solid and steel. But I don't stop. My body continues soaring up, before gradually slowing, then rapidly descending. The sight of a forest begins to rapidly approach. The only thought in my mind, I should have listened to Aizawa. Crack. As I hit the ground, I see a sudden burst of color. Then nothing. Beep, beep, beep. My hearing is the first thing to return. A rhythmic beeping filling my ears. My scent is next. Sterilizing alcohol. A smell I've grown to hate. My taste is next. A thick, irony aftertaste still lingers in my mouth. Finally my sight. My eyes almost crack open, forcing apart the gunk that was sealing them shut. I'm in a hospital room of some kind. The world outside is dark as night. There's a small bedside table, with an empty plate sitting on top. On a chair by the far wall is Principal Nezu, currently curled up by the armrest, his body rising and falling with each little snore he makes. What happened? Arg, I can't help but shout, the feeling finally returning to my body. My whole body feels like it's being burned with hot irons. Every muscle in my body feels incredibly lethargic. Even just thinking causes a wave of nausea and exhaustion to rush over me. The feel of gauze over my entire body begins to scratch against my skin. Everything is covered, just barely masking the green glow of my body underneath. "You're awake, thank goodness," Nezu says, stirring awake with not a single hair out of place. "We were getting worried." What happened?" I force out. Nezu sighs, climbing down from the chair and moving over to the bed, sitting at eye level with me on the uncomfortable mattress. "The creature known as Namu hit you with a lot of power. So much power, in fact, that you were launched through the roof of USJ. You were found by police officers a while away from the site. What about?" Nezu raises his hand before I can even finish the question. "They're all okay. Every student was found unharmed. All Might is fine. Aizawa and Thurton have some serious injuries, but nothing life-threatening. So then Bakugo." I go to speak again, but Nezu beats me to it. "Save your strength. I'll answer all of your questions, all right." I nod as much as I can manage. "Excellent. You'll be pleased to know that All Might defeated Namu, which is now on its way to a high-security prison. The villains known as Shigaraki and Kurogiri were able to escape, but every other villain was apprehended. The police are investigating all leads. You'll be taking the day off tomorrow. They'll be coming by to ask you some questions once you've had a chance to rest. Your foster family has been informed. They're concerned but glad you're all right. Speaking of your condition, we had recovery girl take a look at you. Some of your bones didn't heal properly, so they had to be reset. Otherwise, the rest of your body is healing fine on its own. Honestly, you may be her favorite student. Let's see. Anything else? Oh yes, I know you probably want to check in on everyone, but I must insist you wait until you return to class. This was a traumatic experience. You should process it before the rest of the class hounds you with questions about it. Now, do you have any further questions?" I take the time to process the information. "Just one," I wheeze. Nezu smiles and nods, gesturing for me to ask. "Why are you here?" I ask. I'm not sure how hospitals work, but it seems odd to me that the principal of all people was waiting with me. So why? Nezu sighs, his smile fading. It's my job to make sure my students are safe. THS attack shows a failure on our part as teachers. But more than that, he turns back to face me. A sad smile painted on his face. I feel responsible for your current state. How do you mean? Well, I'm the one who pushed you towards life as a hero. I held you up to such a high standard. I'm sorry I didn't live up to them, I say, the pain in my throat receding. No, not at all, Ryoto. You were a true hero today. I don't think Aizawa and Bakugo would be as healthy as they are now without you. You did everything you could to save as many lives as possible, even at the risk of your own well-being. As a teacher, I should not be condoning your reckless behavior, but as a person, I cannot thank you enough for saving my friend and your classmate. Thank you, sir. I feel like I should have done more. Nezu sighs. That is the curse of every hero. No matter how many people we save or how many villains we capture, there will always be that lingering feeling that we should have done more. I guess so. That being said, this must have taken quite a toll on you. I'd understand if you were no longer interested in becoming a hero. There are still spots in the general education or business courses if you'd like. The question freezes my thoughts. Today was terrifying. For the first time since I was a kid, I feared for my life. Even beyond that, the pain was unbearable and the thought of how broken that Namu made me. I shiver. Well, I'll be glad if I never see it again. But with all that being said, I feel like I did a lot of good here today. Even without a powerful quirk, I was able to help Aizawa and Bakugo. And after seeing All Might in action again, just imagine what I could do once I master my abilities. Thank you, sir, but I want to stay. No matter how scary it is, I want to be a hero. I want to help people. Nezu's smile returns. That makes me happy to hear. Now, if that's everything, let's get you some food and send you home. I nod, the thought of food instantly sending my stomach into a deep rumble. The ride home was quiet. A police officer was driving me and seemed a bit annoyed by just how much food I had eaten in the backseat. I guess my body was desperate for the fuel. It was near midnight when we arrived at the small, ramshackle house my foster family lived in. My foster father often worked overseas, so he wasn't here right now. Besides him and myself, there were 5 kids between 6 and 13 as well as my foster mom, a sweet, elderly lady named Kao. She had apparently stayed up all night with worry and rushed to hug me when we arrived. I'm not the best at showing affection, but Kao has done too much for me, so I always try with her. After fussing over my injuries for a few minutes, she let me head to sleep. With so many kids in the house, I rarely get to sleep in, but that day I didn't wake up until around 1 p.m. I spent most of the time in my room, reading and trying to move. I didn't want to speak to the others. Don't get me wrong, I care very deeply for everyone in this house, but they're also bubbly and energetic. I feel bad, like I bring the mood down when I'm around. Eventually, however, my guilt of killing the vibe is outweighed by my guilt of not helping with the chores, and I head into the living room and the inevitable bombardment of questions. What's next? Shinju asks, her bright face beaming with anticipation over the boiling stew in front of her. Well, that depends, I say. What vegetables do you guys want? Lek, responds Junichiro. No vegetables, I want meat, he says. I lightly chuckle. Junichiro and Shinju are the 2 youngest kids at the home, Junichiro being 8 and Shinju being 6, while the other kids are still at school. These 2 normally help Kao make dinner for everyone, but today I wanted to give her a chance to relax. You need at least 3. Either you pick them or I will, I say, reaching for the celery, the one they hate most. No, Junichiro hurriedly responds. Potatoes. That does technically count. I chuckle, handing some of the washed potatoes over to Shinju. Remember, you need to be very careful. I will, Shinju shouts, jumping up on a stool to reach the countertop. Her face scrunches up in concentration as her eyes start to glow. Shortly after, 2 small orange beams shoot out of her eyes, slowly cutting the potatoes into small chunks. Oh, she says after she's finished the last one. I burnt the cutting board. Looking down, she has slightly singed the wood, adding on to the many scorch marks already there. It's all right, I say. Just keep practicing. You're doing very well. Now, next vegetable. Shinju pauses for a second, her head rising up in thought. Jelly beans, she says with a smirk. I said vegetables, silly. I laugh back, causing her to giggle. Beans are vegetables, Junichiro says, backing her up. I turn around and stare at them, crossing my arms. Shinju can't help but keep giggling. Junichiro stands as straight as he can, trying to look as serious as possible. You're both in big trouble, I say, a smile forcing its way onto my face. Now pick a real vegetable. Shunji goes into the fridge and pulls out a few carrots. Finally, thank you, Shunji, I say, quickly washing them and handing them over to her to cut. Junichiro grabs a wooden ladle and begins stirring the stew. Ryoto, Kao says, peering into the room. Yes, what's up? I respond. Kao walks in, speaking with a nervous stutter. There's a man from UA here to talk to you. No wonder she's nervous. Half the teachers from UA don't exactly look friendly. No problem, I say, drawing my hands. They're probably just here to ask about yesterday. Do you mind watching these two? They're trying to feed us jellybean stew, I say with a smile. Ko still looks taken aback. Who could have shown up to make her so nervous? Yes, of course, she says. They're in the backyard. My curiosity piqued, I head towards the back door. The sliding door squeaks in protest as I force the rusty thing open. Our small backyard greets me. It's a peaceful place. There's plants everywhere and a small, stone path leading to a koi pond. There's only enough room for a few people here, so I'm surprised to see the enormous figure standing so at ease. All Might, I say, causing him to rapidly turn to face me. Young Ryoto is here, he shouts, his booming voice shaking the roof tiles on our small house. Of all the people I was expecting, no wonder Ko had such a reaction. What are you doing here? Are you okay? I blurt out. Well, I'm here for you, Ryoto. How are your injuries? Well, everything's still a bit sore, but it's all mostly healed. I should be back to normal by tonight. Excellent. Then you won't mind asking a few questions about what happened yesterday. His question catches me off guard. I expected the police to be asking me everything. Seems a bit unnecessary to send the #1 hero. Yes, of course, I respond. For the next 20 minutes or so, I go over what happened. The warp gate, the bar, Slicer, Aizawa, the Namu. The last thing I remember is being launched through the ceiling. I'm sorry, I should have gotten more information on the bar and the villains there. Ryoto, All Might says, much quieter than before. He'd been very silent, allowing me to speak, but something in his voice sounds off now. I'm sorry, he says. You must have been so scared. You did very well in a daunting situation. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. Is that why he's here? That guilt Nezu was talking about. Always wanting to do more. You did save me, All Might. You took down Namu without an issue. All Might pauses. His trademark smile has been wavering for some time, but now he drops it completely. Not without issue, he says solemnly. All Might. He looks back at me with an intense stare. I never knew All Might could be so intimidating. I'm going to show you something, Ryoto. It may be scary, but just know that it is still me. Okay, I say nervously. As All Might stands there, steam begins to rise off his massive frame. It billows off in tiny strands before rapidly covering his whole body. After a moment, the steam disappears. All it leaves behind is a small, skeletal figure bearing the vaguest resemblance of All Might. What the? Don't be alarmed, All Might says. I told you, this is still me. What is this? I ask, utterly confused. All Might pauses, my eyes not wavering from him. Is this a trick? Does he have a transformation quirk no one knew about? Do you remember the night I rescued you? Okay, weird jump. Very vaguely, why? He sighs, lifting up his shirt to reveal a horrible wound on his lower body. Your father wasn't the only villain there that night. It was a massive fight, and during the bout a very powerful villain blew much of my body away. My respiratory system was nearly destroyed and my stomach had to be removed. I've wasted away due to the after effects of this wound. I can only maintain my true All Might form for about an hour a day now. This is, well, all these years I had seen All Might as invincible, but he nearly died rescuing me that day. Why are you telling me all this? I ask. Clearly he's been keeping this secret for a while. Why tell me? Well, because for a long time, I've been stuck. I've been the symbol of peace for so long, and with my current injury I can't be a hero for much longer. I've been wondering if it's even worth staying as a hero. What changed? You did. You came to me on your first day and asked me how you could be a great hero. Most other students have thought about it for years and years, but you came to this school not knowing what you were doing. I'm sorry to say you skipped my notice at first, but that changed yesterday. Seeing you, a boy who was unsure of himself and his quirk, risking everything to save people you had only known for a few days. I smile so much to hide the fear I feel whenever I fight, but you didn't even need to smile. Despite your fear, you kept pushing, kept fighting until you physically couldn't anymore. It reminded me what being a hero really means. I had been so scared to push my limit these past few years that I stopped being a true hero. But you and your determination inspired to me give everything I could. You are a true hero, Ryoto. I believe you're worthy of inheriting my power. His words rushed through my brain like a tornado, so much I almost missed the last few words. Your power is all I managed to blurt out. In response, he extends his hand, a small, colorful light gleaming from it. Yes, he says, one for all. My quirk has been handed down from generation to generation. My mentor passed it to me. Now I am passing it to you. If you accept, of course. This is all very sudden. Are you sure about this? All Might smiles lightly. Honestly, not really. Well, gee, thanks. I don't mean it like that. You are a worthy successor, but this power is an incredible responsibility. I don't think I'll ever be truly ready to pass that responsibility on. But you've proven yourself. So will you accept? This is a lot. I think the power I already have is too much, giving me more power. It just doesn't sit right with me. But All Might needs to trust someone with his power. He's already trusted me with all these secrets. I should trust his judgment in return. I stand up straight, trying to look as respectable as possible. I do, I say. Good. All Might responds. Then let's go, he says as he walks towards the front gate. Wait, where exactly? He doesn't even stop to look back at me as he responds. To the police station, then to start your training. There's no time to waste, he shouts to me. I'm left alone in the garden with my whirlwind of thoughts. Then I ran after him. The very next day, the school announced the dates for the sports festival. Normally I'd be excited. It was a chance for me to prove my dominance on a national scale. Unfortunately, All for One had the same thought. That festival is the best chance to get your name out there. I want you to crush the opposition. Make sure everyone knows the name Akatani. Like that, the pressure was on. Sensei had me sparring with either Shigaraki, Kurogiri, or some of our special training nomas at any given time. Sometimes all of them at once. The next 2 weeks were hell for me. Training was no joke, but I had to try my hardest there or risk doing a whole night of master's training with an injury. It was fight after fight after fight. Even the few rests I got were puzzle solving, logic problems, or chess matches against All for One. With all his intellect quirks, it was like playing a supercomputer. My quirk is powered by my mind, he would say. I must train my mind and body equally. It was traumatic, but eventually the day came. Is everyone ready? Tenya cried out to the class. The events are about to begin. The call brings us all to our feet. As our class files its way into the arena, the sound overwhelms us. Even the boosted voice of Present Mike is drowned out by the shouts of the crowd. There must be thousands of people here. As I'm standing there, awestruck by the size of the crowd, more students begin to file into the arena around us. I didn't know it was possible to be claustrophobic in a giant stadium. Now to make the athletes pledge for the first years. Midnight shouts. From Class 1A, Mikumo Akatani. What? Must be because he placed first in the entrance exam. I hear Ciro mumble. Right, that makes sense, I guess. Some other students begin talking, but I drown them out, thinking of what to say as I make my way onto the podium. I don't know any athletes' pledges. I make it to the top, Midnight gracefully placing the mic in front of me. Why is this making me so damn nervous? Make sure everyone knows the name Akatani. I smile. I only have one thing to say. The entire stadium is silent, hanging on my every word. I'm going to win. Shouting erupts from the student body. The other classes already didn't like us. This was only stirring them up. But more importantly, they won't forget me. As I head down to the jeering crowd, I can't help but smirk. Children are so easily provoked. And the fateful first event this year is the obstacle course. Midnight calls out. Without word, the classes start to assemble by the gate surrounded in lights. A 4-kilometer race. The traps shouldn't be a problem, though I might lose out to some speedier quirks. Some sabotage may be in order. I back away from the gate and the following horde of students. If there are obstacles, the gate is likely to have the first one. Horn blare. Start. Comes the announcing call. Immediately the air is filled with the shouting arguments of students stuck in the gate, forcing a herd through a small passageway. That's almost funny. I raise myself above the ground, floating above the other students, going from last to within the top 10 in a matter of seconds. Whoosh! As I launch myself outside, the floor is covered in ice. Dozens of students are frozen at the entrance, unable to move. Todoroki's been having fun. In front of us, frozen entirely, are the robots from the entrance exam. This will be too easy. The fellow students from my class are battling the robots away from the center of the frozen path. A few non-hero students are rushing for the massive opening Todoroki seems to have left for them. Idiots. Crash. The robots come toppling down on top of them. I should be rushing ahead to catch up with the rest of my class as they speed ahead, but this is too fun to watch. Ciro, Bakugo, and Takoyami have gone over the top. Yaoyorozu and Ida are fighting their way through, and then there's a noise, like a jet engine whirring. I expect to see Ida charging through, but he's still fighting one of the robots. So who? Boom. There's a blast of wind as a figure goes flying past me, right at one of the giant robots. As they collide with the robot's face, there's another massive boom. The robot's head splits apart and a great blast of wind goes shooting further down the track. Who the hell? Ryoto goes flying past. Calls Present Mike. Eraser, did you know he could do that? That was Ryoto. How the hell did he manage that? I mean, he's gotten stronger, but while I waste time thinking, Ryoto places one foot on the robot debris he just shattered and launches himself into the distance. Ryoto makes a move for first. Scratch that, he's soaring past first place. Whoa, damn it, I'm a fool for wasting so much time. I surge forward, soaring a few inches off the ground with as much speed as I can muster. Straight speed isn't my specialty. Hopefully the other obstacles can slow that cheater down. A robot goes to crush me, but I send it flying away with a flick of my wrist. As I approach the next leg of the race, I can see the massive chasm in front of us. A dozen or so students are bunched up at the start. Some are just starting to crawl across. Bakugo and Todoroki are just about to reach the other side, and Ryoto. Slam! Ryoto lands in a massive crater in front of us, his right leg hanging limply by his side as his left seems to light itself with energy. He's forcing energy into his legs. He must have insanely overloaded his muscles these last few weeks to become this powerful. But it seems like it takes a toll that he can't heal too fast. I can use that. I use my levitation to float over the gorge, cutting into 4th place. Bakugo and Todoroki are grappling in the middle of what appears to be a minefield, fighting for second. Pathetic. As those two trade blows with each other, I soar over the mines. Present Mike makes a roaring comment about how I've cut ahead. The cheers from the crowd are audible from here. Everyone's accepted that Ryoto has 1st place. They've moved on. I'll show them. Ryoto is above us at the end of the field, rapidly descending for the final dash back into the arena. Right as he's about to land on solid ground, I send a host of psychic tendrils towards his body, forcing him back onto a large cluster of mines. Click. Boom. I soar through the ensuing smoke. Akutami has taken the lead. Can he cross the finish before the others recover? Boom. The sound of either more mines going off or Ryoto launching himself forward sound behind me. I pay it no mind, using all the power I have to keep surging forward. I come within inches of the finish line before. Whoosh! A blur of force and wind catapult past me and into the arena field. He better not have snatched this from me. And the winner is Mikumo Akutami of Class 1A. Yes, scree Ryoto. I can't help but smile as my victory is announced and the rest of the racers come filing in. Ryoto walks over, having to take some time to make back the distance he left. He really has bulked up. Wait, has he gotten taller as well? When he finally reaches me, he smiles. What? Nice job. I was so sure I had it until you came along. He extends his hand, just trying to save face. He must hate this. That fact alone keeps my smile going. I clasp his hand in return, forcing myself not to wince from his iron grip. As the other racers begin to file in, the final results are shown. Of the 42 qualifiers, all 40 Hero Course students got through. Not surprising, alongside 1 support course and 1 general studies student. Everyone gather round as we announce the next event. Calls Present Mike. The next event is the Cavalry Battle. As midnight goes into the rules, I already begin forming a strategy. Before my train of thought is interrupted, except our first-placed participant, who is worth 10 million points. Before she even finishes talking, I feel the eyes of the other students glaring at me. It makes me smirk, as if any of these amateurs could threaten me. I'd happily take you all on if the rules allowed it. You've got 15 minutes to form your teams, Midnight says. Immediately I see the other classes disperse to form teams on their own. Smart. Best to work with people whose quirks you know. Almost instantly, half of my class is calling out for me to pick them. Confident in my power, as they should be. But for me, this is a defensive game and I already have my team planned out. You're Uraraka, I call out. Why yes, she responds from the crowd. You're on my team. Go get Ida, I'll get our other teammate. Though, she says, surprised. Yeah, sure. What's her problem? Anyway, where's that support course student? Akutami. Uraraka mumbles, approaching me in Hatsum. Uraraka, good. This is Hatsum. She's given us a huge boost to our plans. Hatsum doesn't say anything, staring intensely into the crowd. Akutami, Ida won't join us. What? What is with these kids today? Why? He says that he's been outperformed by you too much and that as much as he's your friend, he's your rival as well. Geez, and after all that work I put into him. It's fine. I only wanted him and Hatsum to get them away from other teams. Ida isn't vital to my plans. Well, if that's his choice, I say. We still need another team member, but I think I know who it could be. For my plan, we'll need someone who can cover us at range so that I can concentrate elsewhere. Takoyami would be perfect for that. Takoyami, I call out. Do you have a team yet? He looks back at me, surprised. Not yet, he responds. I was going to ask Ryoto, but he's teamed up with Todoroki. Todoroki and Ryoto together. That's interesting. On that subject. Oh, okay. Speaking of Ryoto, did you know that he could exhibit power like that? He asks. No, he did say he's been doing intensive training recently. But as far as that power goes, it was a surprise for me as well. Intensive training, huh? Could all might have. No, probably not. Oh, weird. Anyway, we have a spot left on our team and I think you'd fill it perfectly. He looks at me intrigued. What exactly did you have in mind? It took some convincing, but after explaining my plan, Takoyami agreed to join. As the bands were handed out and the cavalry formations made, the tension was palpable. And every single one of our opponents was looking at us. You wanted me in the spotlight, master. It doesn't get much bigger than this. Ready, everyone? I ask. Yep, Uraraka says nervously. Indeed, Takoyami resumes. Let's see my babies shine. Hatsum shouts. Get ready, here comes the countdown to our brutal battle royale. Midnight announces. 3, 2, 1, start. Immediately a bunch of teams come rushing for us, preparing attacks and dashing to cut us off. We simply stand tall, watching them approach. Say when Hatsum, is all I say. My babies are ready, let's do this. I shift my weight off of Uraraka, allowing her to activate her quirk on myself and the others. Let's do this indeed, I say, my grin growing across my face. The jetpacks and rocket boots Hatsum equipped on the others begin whirring loudly as they start up. They're going to jump after them. I hear a student shout, causing the surrounding teams to begin charging us. As soon as they get close, WHOMP. I send a great blast of psychic energy around us, sending the riders toppling off their mounts. All of them are dazed as our weightless bodies begin to rise. In support of our items, I focus my energy on the 4 of us, lifting us high into the air. It's a complicated shape, but only Uraraka. The items in our clothes are giving any weight, so it's not too hard to manage. As we keep soaring, I look down to see the figures in the stadium growing smaller and smaller. We must be higher than Ryoto was when he was soaring earlier. That fact alone makes me smile. That's good, stop here, Hatsum says, setting the rockets to hover. I lower my energy to match, keeping us level at this high point. Is everyone okay at this height? I ask, pretending to care. I won't be losing because of some weak stomachs. Hatsum and Takoyami respond positively. Uraraka gives a shaky thumbs up. So long as she stays focused, she should be fine. Now we wait and let the ants fight it out, I say smugly. Takoyami merely nods. The others don't respond, too focused on their jobs. I can vaguely hear Present Mike's voice screaming, but all other sounds are a blur, drowned out by the heavy winds of the atmosphere. Not having much entertainment, I shut my eyes, making sure my focus on our group doesn't waver. Many minutes pass. I'm not sure exactly how many, but enough that we're probably nearing the end of the event. It's at this time that I hear a sound. Boom. The most annoying, grating sound. Boom boom. Bakugo's coming. Takoyami says, knock him out of the sky. I command. These kids should know how to do their own job. Why are you hiding up here, creep? Bakugo taunts, too scared to face me head on. He's trying to goad me into fighting him and losing my concentration. I'm not so easily tricked. Takoyami keeps him at bay with Dark Shadow, but Bakugo is being annoyingly persistent, darting around, threatening the equipment with his explosions. I'm forced to aid Takoyami with psychic blasts, pulling Bakugo towards Dark Shadow as Takoyami can't keep up. We just need to run out the timer. We'll win without a scratch or question of who is above the others. Literally in this case. Boom. As our focus is honed on Bakugo, it's at this moment that the boy who seemingly hit super puberty decides to launch himself into the clouds with us. No hard feelings, right, Takoyami? Ryoto asks. In this second of distraction, Bakugo slips past Dark Shadow, swerving for my headband. Our whole group drops for a second as I'm forced to use my full energy to fling Bakugo away from me. Are these assholes coordinating? It's at this moment I turn back to find Ryoto gone from his previous spot. Slam, a massive blow to my back. Our whole horse wavers in the air as I struggle to keep us afloat. My focus is waning, and as I feel a strong hand grasping the 10 million band on my head, it's all but gone. The last 2 weeks were a dream come true for me. Don't get me wrong, it was incredibly tough training with All Might, but how often do you have the #1 hero teaching you? After that fateful night in my backyard, and nearly choking on the longest strand of hair ever, All Might and I had been meeting daily to get me used to his power. Normally, he said, a new user would need to train and prepare their body for months to use One for All. But thanks to your healing factor, we can ignore all that and jump straight in. All Might had decided that the best way to prepare me to handle One for All was just to have at it and let my body adapt. It hurt like hell, but it worked. After 2 weeks of non-stop exercise, broken limbs and sparring, I could use about 40% of One for All without injury. Even then, after using 100%, I can recover whichever part I used in about a minute. I had been planning to keep this new power of mine a secret for a while, but All Might had a different idea. The sports festival is broadcast all over the country. I want you to show everyone what you can do. Tell the world that the new symbol of peace is here. So as the horde of students was pouring out of the sports festival arena, that's exactly what I did. As the other students were scrambling to make it past a platoon of robots, I sent a surge of energy towards my leg. 40% to start. I whispered to myself. Boom. My body zooms forward, directly at the largest robot's head. Just a little something to get the world's attention. As I surge towards the robot, I reel my fist back, sending all the energy I can into it. Smash. A massive dent caves into the robot's head before it splinters into fragments. Using the recoil from the punch, I flip back onto the construct's chest, waiting for its body to fall. As it does, I send all of the searing energy into my right leg, one at a time, like we practiced. Boom! Faster than a jet, I launch off the robot's body, soaring high into the air and over the course. Todoroki's blazing trail of ice falls far behind me. Hope this is enough for you, All Might. The next course hones into view, great chasms dropping into the ground. Seeing this, I make a weaker punch into the air, sending me down before the drop. As I'm about to land, I push all of the energy into my left leg. Boom! Once again I'm launched into the air. I feel my stomach clench from the sheer force. It takes me a moment to relax, avoiding the sickness I would feel doing this in training. Haha, woohoo. Even in said training, I had never gone this high. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. I look down to my right leg to see how it's healing. It's not the healthiest move, but by focusing on height over distance and alternating legs, I can jump at 100% with enough time to heal my leg before I land. My legs seem okay, which is good. The final obstacle is fast approaching. As I begin to land, I can see a few students entering what the sign says is a minefield. It looks like I'll be able to land after it. Then I just need to launch through the tunnel into the arena. I feed the energy back into my right leg, preparing to land and pivot. This went better than I. Whoosh, click, boom. I topple backwards into the minefield, setting off a bright blast of light. I'm dazed, and my head is spinning. Akatani has taken the lead. Can he cross the finish before the others recover? Oh crap. I quickly lift myself back onto my feet. Todoroki and Bakugo are rapidly approaching from behind and Akatani is flying into the tunnel. It's not too late. Boom. The finish line is in sight. Akatani is just a few steps away. I lose sight of him as the force of my power sends me flying past the line and crashing into the grass field of the arena. And the winner is Mikumo Akatani of Class 1A. Crap, clearly my landings still need work. Still, second place is incredible, and there are more events to come. I walk over to Akatani, having to slowly limp as my legs regenerate. He looks over to me, smiling widely. This must have meant a lot to him. When I finally reach him, I smile back. Nice job. I was so sure I had it until you came along, I say, extending my hand to him. As close as I was, I'm pretty happy with how I did, all things considered. Akatani shakes my outstretched hand. I make sure not to put too much of my new strength into it. Bit by bit, the other racers arrive and the placements are shown. They make announcements about the next event, but I can't help but scan the crowd. Did you see me, All Might? I tried. You've got 15 minutes to form your teams, Midnight says. I look around, seeing who from our class made it to the second round. I begin looking for Takoyami. We get along well. We'd probably make a decent team. Ryoto, a familiar voice calls from behind me. Todoroki walks over, his eyes occasionally glancing over to the stands in annoyance. Would you team up with me? He continues. I need someone who can handle my ice attacks and we've trained together before. Yeah, of course, I say. Todoroki is such a powerhouse. I would jump at any chance to work with him. Good, then we just need 2 more people to form the horse. Wait, you want to be the rider? I ask. I figured we both would. Not many people are volunteering to be the horse. That's fair. Most people do want to be the rider as it gets more attention. Honestly, I think we'd both be better as horses. With my strength, it's a waste not to have me on bottom. But also, since a lot of your ice attacks come from your feet, being a rider would make it easier for you to attack. Plus, if you're the right side horse, you don't need to worry about people attacking your fire side. Todoroki takes my thoughts in before nodding. That makes sense, he says after a moment. I meant to ask you about your new strength as well. My quirk had some unexpected effects, I say quickly, but we're running out of time to find the rest of our team. Who else do you think we should ask? That's a good question. I take some time to think before answering. If we have Yaoyorozu as our rider, then she'll have her hands free to support us with any items we need. Plus, she's a good strategist. I think she'd lead us well. Todoroki nods. Then we just need another strong horse. I'd like to volunteer, Ada says, walking towards us. Ada, aren't you going to be on Akatani's team? I ask. Not today, he replies. I think it's time I step out of his shadow. Todoroki nods. Then we accept. You'll be our central horse. With that, we go to find our rider. Everyone remember the plan? Yaoyorozu asks. We all nod, adjusting our formation to ensure we were all in the best position. After Momo agreed to join us, she had wasted no time in devising a strategy based on our skill set. The rest of us had made some slight tweaks, but overall it seemed like our team was going to work very well together. Of course, having both the class rep and vice rep didn't hurt. 3, 2, 1, start. Immediately, half of the assembled team started charging towards Team Akatani. We, on the other hand, decided to avoid the skirmish, heading to the outskirts of the field. Our plan was rewarded as we saw the teams targeting Akatani get shoved into the ground. Akatani is flying out of the stadium. Mike announced. We made the right choice. Ida called out to us. Todoroki grunts in agreement. Target 1, 3 o'clock. Yaoyorozu shouts. As our whole team shifts to follow her direction, we catch sight of our first targets. 2 Class B students, one riding the other. The rider seemed to be covered in these strange scales while the horse was one guy with a beast-like form. As we approached, they quickly notice us and start bounding away. Without prompting, Todoroki sends out a wave of ice to surround them. The Beast Boy manages to jump out of the way to avoid being frozen, but we've surrounded them on all sides with ice. Seeing this, the rider begins shooting sharp scales at us, but Momo simply blocks them with her shield. As they fall, the Beast Boy slips on a new ramp of ice, giving Todoroki a chance to freeze them fully and steal their headband. Before they can recover, I break a hole in the icy barrier and we shoot away. Between our 2 headbands, we had a pretty comfortable score, but we needed to be sure we'd move on. We had to be certain that there were as few teams as possible to compete with us for points, so we'll eliminate as many as we can. Next target, dead ahead, Momo shouts. Another 2-person team. This time a bug-like creature was the horse while a girl with 2 large horns was the rider. Todoroki sends out another wave of ice, but the bug guy had sprouted large blades from his forearm and was cutting through the ice to charge at us. The horned girl sent 2 horns blasting our way, but again Momo brought up her shields in defense. Charge them, she says. The sound of Ada's rumbling engine grows louder before we suddenly are pulled forward. I launch myself with a 40% kick and Todoroki slides past with his ice. Whoosh, before they can even react. We've shot past them, their headband in tow. We continue racing past, waiting for our next target when, bam, a giant hand slams into the ground, pushing us off balance. So, you want to target my class, huh? Says the girl with big hands. She's the rider on a 4-person team, but she's not the only one. Another team with strange-looking mutant quirks is moving in cautiously to the side of us. From behind, I can hear the 2 teams we already attacked moving to surround us. I'm afraid I can't have that. As Class B's representative, it's my job to ensure you don't walk all over my classmates, she says with a smirk. She's stalling, waiting for her friends to get in position. We didn't think the other class would be so willing to work together since they couldn't all make it through. Yaoyorozu, what's the plan? Todoroki asks. She hesitates for a moment, seemingly overwhelmed by the situation in front of her. In that moment, the Beast and Scales team come dashing over, urging our other opponents into action. Yaoyorozu, break, she suddenly cries. Without another word, Todoroki and Ida split off from the group, hoisting Yaoyorozu onto my back. I focus all my strength into keeping her off the ground and send power into my legs, ready to dodge. But I don't need to. Ida dashes about, kicking into the horses to disrupt their footing and throw them off balance. He's like a blur. The second he passes a team, Todoroki slides in, freezing them all with his ice. As they pass over, I carefully rush by, getting Momo close enough to grab their headbands. By the time we've reassembled, we've amassed quite a few bands. Only 2 minutes left to get those points. Mike cries out, "We have enough, let's defend here." Yaoyorozu says. We make our way to an unoccupied part of the field. Then, seeing all the Class B teams chasing after us, Todoroki creates an enormous ice wall, completely blocking us off on 4 sides. Now we wait, Momo says. We stay alert, listening for any sounds of the ice breaking. Any time it seems to get weak, Todoroki refreezes it. We're pretty safe at this point, but safe isn't enough for All Might. I need to stand out. In the distance, a lot of small explosions sound across the field, slowly getting quieter. Sounds like Bakugo's going for the 10 million points. Ida says, I could probably get up there, I say, mentally calculating the height of the tiny dot in the sky. Do we think it's worth it? No, Ida responds. We have more than enough points. Best we all stay here to defend them if we're attacked. There's only a minute left though. If Ryoto is the only one who has to go, then it couldn't hurt to try. Todoroki counters. What do you think, Momo? I ask, looking up at her. She quietly ponders before looking down on me. You think you can do it? I hesitate, before nodding. I do. Then go. I'll give you a signal if we need you to come back. I nod, pouring energy into both of my legs. I quickly calculate the amount of power I need, accounting for using both legs, recovery time, and then, boom, I go soaring straight into the air, a little faster than I expected. I have only a few seconds to come up with a plan before I reach their level. Looks like Takoyami is with them, and Akatani is focused on flying. If I can overwhelm Takoyami. No hard feelings, right, Takoyami? I ask. In that moment of distraction, Bakugo slips past Dark Shadow, explosively swerving for the headband around Akatani's head. As he does, I throw a 40% punch towards the ground in my left, maneuvering above him. Their whole flying fortress almost falls as Akatani loses focus to throw Bakugo away. Then as he turns back to where I was, slam, I flick 2 of my fingers 100% straight into the air, sending me crashing down onto Akatani's back. Hoping it stunned him, I grab the headband around his head and yank it away. Sorry about this. I move to dive back down, but Bakugo is currently blasting in a beeline for me, which is when I notice Dark Shadow slipping one of the bands off Bakugo's head. He immediately turns his face to glare at Takoyami. Damn nerd, you think you can steal from me? He shouts. I take that as my cue to get back to my team. I punch into the air, falling down at a reasonable speed. As I look down to find potential landing spots, I see that Todoroki's ice wall is covered in figures trying to climb over it. Red smoke wafts up from behind the wall. A flare, Momo's signal. But the other teams are so spread out. All Might was teaching me a move. It could work. No harm in trying now, I guess. I tuck my neck into my chest and shoot condensed energy out my legs. My body starts rapidly somersaulting towards the ground. My stomach feels like it's in a blender. Slam! I barely manage to land on my feet, sending a shockwave into the ground. All eyes are on me, and the 10 million band I'm holding, making split-second decisions. The other teams start rushing to me. I try to move my legs, but they're still healing. So I draw my arm back, charging it with energy. Don't make me do this. One of the Class B teams are upon me. I prepare to shatter the ground with my punch. This is gonna hurt. Ready, and time's up. Midnight calls. I breathe a massive sigh of relief as President Mike's voice rings out across the field. Let's see who the top 4 teams are right now. In first place, Team Yaoyorozu. In second place, Team Bakugo. In third place, Team Shinso. In fourth, Team Akatani. These 4 teams will proceed to the final event. A weight is off my shoulders. We won. How is that, All Might? Ryoto. I hear Yaoyorozu shout out through a hole in the ice wall. You did it. We all did. I couldn't have done this without the support from you guys. I reply. A modest response as befits the hero course. Hida chimes in. But he's right. It was our concise teamwork and Yaoyorozu's strong leadership that led to our success. Absolutely. I respond. You guys were incredible out there. Momo nods. Whatever the next event is, let's all continue to do our best. Hida and I both shout in agreement, waiting for Todoroki to chime in. But he's already gone. The next hour at lunch was pretty relaxing. The food was even better than usual and Takoyami and I had a chance to talk. Everything seemed great, except for Todoroki. I tried talking to him, but he'd gone back to his cold, untalking attitude from before we had met. I hope he's alright. Regardless, we all lined up on the field an hour later for the next event, a battle tournament. Ajiro and one of the Class B students had quit the match. Apparently someone had messed with their minds. Weird stuff. But after all that had been sorted, we were shown the matchups. First round, Ryoto versus Shinso. Second round, Kirishima versus Tetsu. Third round, Todoroki versus Shiro. Fourth round, Ida versus Hatsune. Fifth round, Ashido versus Shizaki. Sixth round, Akatani versus Aoyama. Seventh round, Takoyami versus Yaoyorozu. Eighth round, Bakugo versus Uraraka. The very first match was me versus Shinso from General Studies. No pressure. Although, I'm not entirely sure who that guy is. He's in General Studies, so it shouldn't be too difficult. Though I need to be careful. Don't want to be too cocky. Ryoto Mizuroji. That's you right. A creepy, monotone voice says from behind me. I turn around to respond, but a hairy tail is shoved into my mouth. Ryoto. Ajiro shouts. That guy. Don't answer him. So wait. That must mean, though, the guy with the creepy voice is smiling at us. His eyes have deep bags under them and his purple hair stands tall above his head. Come with me, Ajiro says. I'll explain everything. I nod and follow Ajiro to one of the rest areas. Ajiro doesn't speak until we've entered the back room. He quickly locks the door behind us and gestures for me to take a seat. He then follows suit, sitting across from me. So I'm assuming that guy was Shinso, I ask, desperately trying to break the silence. Ajiro nods. Yeah, Aoyama and I were forming a team with one of the guys from Class B, then he shows up asking to join. Next thing I know, the cavalry battle is basically finished, so he can control your mind. Seems that way. I spoke to the other two. We all sort of phased out after he asked to join our team. We think it had something to do with answering his question, so I should probably avoid talking to him just to be safe. How did you get out of it? Well, it seems like you can be shocked out. One of the other teams bumped into me near the end of the match. Aoyama and the Class B guy only broke out at the end. I think Shinso had to let them go. Damn, thank goodness I heard all this beforehand. Going blind against this guy would be devastating. I see. Thanks, Ajiro. I really appreciate you telling me all this. He smiles. It's no problem. Just get him out for me if you can. I nod, expecting him to head back to the games, but he remains seated. Is everything okay? I ask. He smiles nervously. Yeah, I have something I've been wanting to ask you, but it's a little embarrassing. I'm curious now. Ask away. I say. Well, your last name is Mizuroji, right? Someone else curious about my father. I suppose I owe him for the information. Sorry, but if it's about my father, I really don't know all that much. His face goes red with embarrassment. Oh no, it's not that. It's about your grandfather, actually. Wait, you know my grandfather? Well, I've heard of him. I'm a pretty big fan. I was wondering if you could tell me what he's like. A fan? Of what? Sorry, but I've never met him. To be honest, I didn't know he existed until just now. You said you're a fan of him? Well, yeah, he's a bit old school, but he was a big inspiration for me. You've seriously never heard of him? Before I can even speak, Ajiro has pulled out his phone and started searching up an old video. My grandfather, Kenji Mizoroge, was apparently a hero many years ago known as the Silver Dragon. He's really cool, Ajiro says. One of the few heroes out there who used martial arts. Kinda the whole reason I got into fighting to begin with. My grandfather, a hero. I wonder why he never reached out to me. I whisper under my breath. Ajiro must have heard me as he responds quickly. He probably doesn't know you exist, to be honest. After your father became a villain, he retired from hero life. Apparently he went off to live in rural China somewhere. No one's heard from him in years. That's a shame. I'd have liked to meet him. It's nice to know my family wasn't all bad. Ajiro looks at me sympathetically. Maybe one of the teachers has a way to contact them. They're all heroes, right? True. All Might must have some connections. I'll have to ask. Thanks, Ajiro. This has been pretty eye-opening. Anytime, he says. I'd better let you get ready. You don't need me ranting to you about your grandfather when you have a match soon, he says, getting up and heading for the door. I don't speak. The video he showed me playing back in my head. My grandfather. The first match. Mike cries out. The entire stadium erupting with cheers. The rush of a giant crowd cheering fills my body, stiffens my moves. So this is the life of a hero. It'll take some getting used to. Second place in the obstacle course and winner of the cavalry battle, it's Ryoto Mizoroge. Mike shouts. Ryoto. That tail guy must have told him everything. I'll need to think carefully. It must be so nice to have friends who look out for you. The other general course students have given me nothing but strange looks. Like they already assume I'm mincemeat once this fight starts. Versus, sorry, but this guy really hasn't done anything to stand out yet. Typical heroes. I've stood out to anyone paying attention. It's Hitoshi Shinso from General Studies. As Mike goes over the rules, Ryoto and I get a chance to really size each other up. He's a lot bigger than I am, and his quirk makes him very fast and powerful. I can't give him any chance to use it. What do I have on him? He did abandon his team to get the 10 million points, so he's probably a glory hunter. He also just barely lost out to his classmate in the race. That may be a wound worth opening, but I have to be mindful. There are 2 more rounds after this. I can't be making my quirk too obvious or I'm screwed. Now let's get this thing started. Mike screams, sending the crowd into an uproar. I try to speak, but my voice is drowned out by their cheers. Thud. Ryoto takes one slow, ominous step towards me. Thud. No power. He's just slowly walking over to me. Cocky bastard. Thud. The sound of his steps mirrors the heavy beating of my heart, and the heavy sweat that starts to pour down my face. I'm more nervous than I thought. Thud. But his arrogance has given me time. Time I can use. Second place in the obstacle course, huh? I shout across the field. How dumb must you be to lose like that? Thud. It's just embarrassing. Thud. No words. His eyes are locked on mine and his steady, constant stepping draws him ever closer. Is that why you were so desperate to chase those points in the last round? Thud. Bet your team didn't take kindly to that. What kind of friend are you? Thud. He takes a big step closer, and his eye twitches. There's something there. Do you think beating me will make them like you again? That's just pathetic. Thud. He's upon me now, his iron grip folding his fingers into my shirt as he pulls me towards the edge. My heart is beating rapidly now. Come on. I mean, how desperate can you be? Thud. Still nothing. I try to pull against his grip, but it doesn't budge. Mike says something, but the beating of my heart has drowned out any sound other than my quick, shallow breaths or Ryoto's thudding steps that inch ever closer to the edge. Come on, say something. Even the dumbass tail guy had the sense to defend himself. Thud. We're nearing the edge now, full-blown panic taking a hold of my thoughts. Are you just too dumb to understand me? Thud. Only a few steps from the edge now. I'm desperately trying to pull myself away, but his hand is a vice around my shirt. With this strength, he could easily throw me over the line. I didn't even get a chance. His arm begins lifting me out of bounds. Say something. Anything. Please stop. Please just hear me out. I beg. To my surprise, his arm stops in midair, his eyes locking with mine. Please, at least let me use my quirk. This isn't a fair fight. His eyes stay locked on mine, brimming with an emotion I can't read. Look, I've always wanted to be a hero, but I have a villain's quirk. No one would believe I could do it, and the exam was rigged against me. This may be my only chance to prove my worth, to show that my evil quirk could be good for heroics. Please, let me use it just once, okay? I plead. After an agonizing few moments, he sighs, looking down, before looking back to me and speaking. Okay, is all he says, before his deep eyes are drawn blank, empty, awaiting command. Oh, thank goodness. Let me go. I command. Ryoto obediently does so. What? Mike screams. Ryoto just let Shinso go seconds away from victory. Must be nice to have been born with such a great quirk, I say, my body finally beginning to calm down. But regardless, I appreciate your cooperation. Now turn around and walk out of the ring. Without thinking, Ryoto complies, turning back and walking away. I probably should have specified to take a shorter route. But oh well, a win is a win. Ryoto is obeying his every word. Could this be Shinso's quirk? Mike calls out. 1 down, 2 to go. I probably gave away too much, but round 1 is better than none. Even if I lose the others, this should still be enough to turn some heads. My next matchup will probably be with that ice and fire guy. That Scar is probably a sensitive topic. I'll have to watch his match closely and boom, a wave of air rushes past me as cracks appear at my feet. The hell? As I look over to where Ryoto was walking away, a giant crater has appeared below his feet. 2 of his fingers are glowing with green energy, and his searing eyes are locked onto mine again. Boom. In a flash, he's upon me again, his crushing grip pushing my shoulders back. How? You shouldn't have any control. What did you do? Thud. I try to push back, but he's not giving me any space. Thanks to my villainous quirk, no one thought I could be a hero. Thud. You wouldn't understand that, being so naturally blessed. Thud. You people, born with your awesome quirks. Thud. Getting to follow all your dreams. Thud. I throw my fist into his face. Thud. Blood pools from his nose. But he doesn't stop. Thud. Say something already. Thud. Why? Shinso is out of the ring. Midnight shouts. Wait, what? Ryoto moves on to the second round. As I look down, I see my foot has slipped over the boundary line. I was so focused on him, I hadn't even noticed. For the record, Ryoto says, this awesome quirk of mine, it came from a villain. I look back at him, expecting smug looks and a jeering smile. Instead, his eyes are filled with compassion, almost sadness. Personally, I think your quirk is awesome. He continues, with that and the determination you showed here, I think you'd make a great hero. He extends his hand. I slap it away. I don't need your pity. I turn to walk out. You were awesome out there, Shinso. One of my classmates calls from the stands. We've never spoken before. Why would they? You had us on the edge of our seats. Another classmate calls. You're the shining star of us general studies guys. Another shouts. Before I can process it, half the stadium has erupted in cheers for me. From students to the pro heroes. It's not pity. Ryoto says from behind me. It's what I believe, and clearly I'm not the only one. I turn back to face him and he smiles at me. I'm going to talk to the principal. It's not much, but I can put in a good word for you to help transfer you. He continues. I almost laugh. I don't think your words will do much to change his mind. He does laugh, ever so slightly. No, probably not. But you deserve the same chance that I was lucky enough to get, even if I can't promise anything will come out of it. I can promise something though. And what would that be? I ask, suspiciously. He only smiles wider. That when you do join the hero course, and I know you will, I promise that I'll be your first friend there. Despite myself, I smile. Make no mistake, I'm not here to be friends. I'm going to keep trying and working harder. One day, I'll be a greater hero than all of you. Again, he just keeps smiling. I look forward to that day, he says, his eyes suddenly going blank. I smile back. Win this thing for me, I command. The wool returns to his eyes. Sure thing, he says. Okay, sadly the chapter is over. And if you enjoyed the video, just leave a like and subscribe with post notification. So when the next chapter is ready, you will be notified. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye.